and share it with the rest of the world. My guest joining me this morning, Professor Ransford Gyampo, is a professor of political science at the University of Ghana, Legon, and then also the president of the University of Ghana, UTAG, joining us. Professor Ransford Gyampo, good morning, welcome.
Good morning, thanks for having me.
Also, Martin Pebo is private legal practitioner. He's the convener for the Kumi Preko. He is a leader of one of three H1C, who is also a member of the Parliamentary Committee on Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, Constitutional Legal and Parliamentary Affairs. His constituency has also been hit by this situation that we're talking about with the floods that has hit most parts of the Volta region that we're talking about now. Nelson Roxin Defiamekpo will be joining us shortly to have a conversation on the matters arising with respect to the happenings in his constituency. We'll get into it here on Key Point. We'll also be joined by the Honorable Andy Apiakobi shortly to also have a conversation on the call on Parliament to also step in. In fact, there have been calls for Parliament to reconvene on a certificate of emergency to consider some of these calls for a state of emergency to be imposed or declared in these areas that have been hit by the floods. Now, I want you to take a look at this, some of the areas that we've been throughout the week. In fact, we have a number of people in the Volta region monitoring the situation for us. My colleagues, Godwin Asediba, Emmanuel Samani, Joseph Armstrong, Roland Walker, have all been there on the ground to bring you a direct coverage of the situation as we are seeing playing out in the Volta region. This is the aerial view of the Mepe area. That's what's happening in the Mepe community. In fact, it's one of the heaviest hit communities. You understand, the flood waters have inundated most parts of the community, where most of the buildings there, unfortunately, have been submerged under the flood waters. That is what's happening. This place you see was bare land. And now people have to commute with canoes. That's how bad the situation is as we speak. And it is worrying, to say the least. And we'll take you as well to Sogakope as well, one of the areas that has been heavily hit. Sogakope, where we also understand that people, unfortunately, a number of them have been displaced as a result. And we're counting close to 22,000 people. In fact, maybe over 22,000 people that have been impacted, including hotels. What you're seeing there are some of the hotels that have been affected as well as a result of the spillage of the excess water from the Akonsombo Dam. And the situation, unfortunately, we don't know when it's going to end, because the Volta River Authority says they will continue to spill. But as to the date or when it would end is another matter. This is Gemini. Gemini is a town in the South Dai constituency. You see those buildings there? Almost submerged to the roofing level. Some of them have been submerged beyond the roofing level. All of it in the flood waters. And that to the extent that a building was there to tell you that that was bare land.
The light pole.
And the pole you see there is a light pole.
Electricity.
A pole that was mounted to extend electricity. Now, it's almost up and down in the flood waters. All of these places were bare land. And this is, Germany is one of the areas where they have a market. What you're seeing there is a market, where Wednesday was a market day. And unfortunately, because of this situation, look at that. All the buildings there submerged totally in the flood waters. This is a shed that we understand belonged to a woman, an old woman who sells fish. That's what's happened.
That's my regional caucus chair, Bedra.
The Honourable Member of Parliament for the South Dike constituency is here. Nelson Roxon Dafiamekpo. This Germany area is in his constituency. Welcome, Honourable. Good morning.
Thank you, my brother.
Now, so I wanted to speak to the video we just saw.
Yeah.
That area, it's a market, correct?
Yes, it's actually the biggest periodic market in the Eastern Corridor.
The biggest periodic market in the Eastern Corridor.
In geography, that's how they call it. They call them periodic markets. It starts from Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Those are the market days.
And the revenues for the state, it's unbelievable. Huge source of revenue.
Okay. Wow.
If I give you the statistics for the past 20 years, you'll be amazed.
So all of these places we are seeing was bare land.
Yes. This is where actually the market operates. This is where they converge. This is where they do the transactions.
And the flood waters have
Yes, the lake
to the
is
sea,
swallowed it up.
to the roofing level.
Yes, because you see the houses are actually shops and homes. So the market, the convergence of the people, where they do the trading, the transactions, happens where you see the water, the bay area.
That's where the canoe is now.
Yes, the boats actually come from as far as Yiji.
Yiji.
Some travel for 3 days on the lake to get to Germany.
So these people who lived in these houses, where are they now? What's happening? to them? How are they living?
They've been moved to...
You said that's an electric pole.
Yes, that's a service pole. In fact, I actually put the street light on it.
You put a street light on that pole?
Yes. Just to illuminate the market at night. And it's completely swallowed. It's about 8 feet to 10 feet
That
in water.
pole we are seeing there?
The pole is about 22 feet. And you see that nearly half is what is above water. So it should tell you the height of the pole on the ground. Oh, that is below water level, but not sea level in this case. But
tell me about the people who are there, those who have been displaced. How are they living?
Germany has a general population of about 15,000. It's the most populous in Southern. So it's actually my World Bank in terms of politics. And so the crisis, it's put me on edge. I've been running around looking for relief items to bring some succor to the people. It's also a very interesting place, full of families. People are so interrelated. So luckily, we are able to settle with other families whose homes are on a higher ground, as it were. But it's not enough. The churches, I must commend our churches in Germany. The Council of Churches, led by a very young man, has been fantastic. But they can only do so much. We need some intervention. We need to create a temporary camp. So we've agreed that we'll build some tents. So we need roofing sheets and some timber, some student mattresses. And the terrible thing is that because the rains are still pouring in, groundwater too is disturbing.
Right.
Prof, you understand me? Groundwater, it's also a problem.
It's still raining.
It's still raining.
In the area.
It's still raining. It's been raining since January. In fact, if we want to go into this matter, I will have my time to look into. Those of us who live upstream of the lake, for the past 3 years, we know that the lake is at its brim. It's been full since 2021. And I'll give you the statistics. I'll give you the figures to tell you that the lake has been full since 2021. And VRA has, in fact, the figures I'm going to quote are figures, I didn't concord them. It's from VRA's own database.
Let's get into the figures, okay? Because if you're saying that
let me use the opportunity to say good morning to my people, especially my people in Germany who are going through this trauma. And I have like 15 communities that have been submerged.
15?
Yes, I have Ajebwi, partial submerged, so to speak. I have Ajebwi, I have Sakwe, I have Alaji Kope, I have Bumudi Kope, I have Jakiti, I have Germany itself, which is the heavily hit. Then I have Atoklopo, I have Agodake, I have Fantikope, I have Daosukope, I have Chanakpe, which is the traditional capital, also heavily hit. I have Chita, Abui, number 1, number 2. I have Golovime. I have Akpato. I have Todome. It's also hit. I have Soji Kope. I have Blokpo Kope. I have Vugbaji. Then Beve Tonu, which is the capital. Beve is the capital, the district capital. Tonu means Insuano, you know, that sort of thing. So once you have a community at the lake shore, that's how they call it. They are.
And Fantikope means what? Fanti village.
Yes, the Fantis are. Oh, the Fantis are all over. People from Efutu,
I see,
and the Wutu area. You know, they are also. We are all fisher folks.
Yeah.
Right, so where there's water, you see us
over there.
So we are the Fantis. We and the guns and the dance. We do one thing. Indeed. So now, going to the figures. As far back as 2001, the rainfall regime in the country changed. So at the end of 2001, the lake level as put out by VRA itself was 278.12 feet.
278.
Now remember that the maximum is 276. 276. Remember that the maximum operating level for the water level in the lake is 278 feet.
Yes.
That is 84.56 meters. So if you were doing 276 in 2021, the lake is at its brim.
Yeah.
It shouldn't overflow for you to know that it was full.
Is the maximum level not 276 instead?
No, it's 278.
Okay.
And then
So in 2022, December 2022, the lake as recorded, the water level in the lake as recorded by VRA was 277.12 feet. 31st December 2022. When we consider that it's the dry season, the lake was recording a full water level. It was 0.88 of a feet shy of the brim. So normally what happens is that they will look at the levels and then begin to spill, regulated spill. But in general, when we're supposed to experience dry season in February, and then we experience what we call bushfires, you know, the world to have been bushfires with all the media warnings. It didn't happen. The rains began right from January 1st, on New Year's Day. The rains began to pour. So the inflows into the lake from the upstream increased instead. So VRA knew right from January this year that the lake was teetering at its brim. So they needed to spill.
bit by bit.
Bit by bit. In fact, there's a whole department on management of the lake level and spillage at VRA, headed by a director of Hydro. So the story that we were misled by staffs of meteorological services is such a tale that I don't want to describe it in some terms, but it's such a tall tale or a telltale to tell people. So, and I'm told that as of April, the inflows from Afram, Oti, Dying, White Volta, Black Volta, and all the other major streams you can think of upstream in the Voltairean Basin was full. Every stream was overflowing.
In fact, we'll come to that as well, because we've monitored some flooding along the Oti, Western North, Northern Savannah regions. About 7 regions have been experiencing flooding as a result of the increasing water levels in the red, white, and black Volta.
And to the extent that even the Bui Dam itself also spilled because the dam was overflowing because of rainfall, increased rainfall regime in the catchment area.
You know, when we reported, the authorities of Bui Dam came out to say that's not true, but at least the evidence is
the Bui spilled. Last year, Bui spilled because the dam was full. In fact, it was an issue in Parliament. Bui actually spilled. It was an issue in Parliament.
The Bui Dam was spilled of excess water.
Bui is not a dam. So they spill. Once it's overflowing, they spill. And because I recall the member of Parliament, that's Honorable Ahmed, my first deputy whip, you know, that's his constituency. There are some villages along the Bui Lake. He has to actually travel to Côte d'Ivoire. Yes, if you are going to those villages in Ghana, you actually have to enter Côte d'Ivoire to go and negotiate around the lake in order to reach them. And all these are every communities, because where there's water, we are there. So he brought this matter to Parliament, and the spillage was also having an effect on some other resettlement communities downstream of the Bui Dam. And I recall very well, because I'm a product of this place, so I take interest in some of these matters. So I know that in 2021, Bui spilled. In 2022, they spilled. Now, speaking of VRA, so from April, May, clearly you had to spill. I was busy in the area because, you know, that was during our internal elections.
April, May of this year?
Yes, so I was perpetually there every day. And I saw the water levels. And I knew that the level that we were seeing, the lake was full. You see palm trees that are about 25 to 30 years old now in water. It means when they were growing up, there was no water. So the water hasn't reached this level in many, many years. In fact, the last time that the water reached this level was 10 years ago. But you know, palms are very hardy. Once they are above water, even if they are in water, they are able to grow. So I can understand. But the last time we recorded this was in 2010. In fact, VRA will tell you that that was the highest recorded level of the lake ever since 1965. They recorded 277.52 feet. We are doing 277.36 now. You understand? So, but there was spillage in 2010, 2011. Mefe was not overwhelmed. Bato was not overwhelmed. Cisneros is not in water. Dr. Anya's Spa is not in water.
Wow.
You understand? So there's something fundamentally wrong with the spillage that was done this time around in the manner that it was done. But like my chairman said, we want to chase away the cats, and then we'll deal with the issue. So now we are a people in crisis. You see, the dam is like a living organism. It stores water. When it brings problems to the people around it upstream, it discharges to bring comfort. But the discharging, there's a whole protocol around the discharging. It is done in such a way that the water flows through its channel, the estuary, into the sea, without overflowing its levees. The levees are the embankments along the estuary in geography. So Akosombo spills into the Kpong Dam. The Kpong Dam is the smaller dam. And when you spill at that volume, Kpong gets filled up in 24 hours because it's not big. So Kpong has no option than to spill in the manner that they did. But Kpong, accidentally, is also managed by VRA. So again, it is still VRA. So the VRA acted unprofessionally in discharging this time round.
In the
Look.
statement, they said the ongoing controlled spilling from the Konsombo Dam has been carried out on an incremental basis since September 15, 2023, starting gradually from 20,000 cubic feet per second to the current level of 180,000 cubic feet per second. From 20,000 feet on September 15 to 180,000 cubic feet. That's the level at which they are spilling now. You make the argument that this control spillage should have started earlier in April, May.
It ought to have started sometime April or May. Because you see, as a manager of the dam, you would have done your calculations and determined that the inflows from all the major tributaries feeding the dam, including the Bagri Dam, were such that you need not to store water. Because the inflows were, in fact, the inflows are much more than you can spill. So you ought to have spilled much earlier. It is the late spillage that has caused this problem. So somebody delayed the date of the spillage. That's where the problem is. Oh. Yes. Somebody either deliberately or negligently delayed the spillage. And so when the dam was bursting at its seams and was practically vibrating under the weight of the heavy water, they had to spill. And spill because, look, there's disaster looming. If you don't spill and spill heavily and bring and ease off the pressure on the dam. So
it got to a point where the integrity of the dam
was being threatened.
Was threatened.
Yes, I have classmates there, I have seniors who are engineers there. They tell me that the dam particularly was vibrating. And people were running out of, the dam is like, it's like an organism. It's a whole structure. They're underground. There are all manner of structures in there. People were running out of the offices. But these are not things they can come out and tell you. So, like my leader in parliament said, we need to have some inquiry into this matter. But for now, we want to bring relief to our people. And I'm not the only one affected upstream. North Dam is affected. Communities like Botoku, Usuta, Apate, Aveme, Daingba, they are all affected.
That's so North Dam is the heaviest hit.
No, North Dam is downstream. So North Dam, in fact, there are some communities in Central Town and South Town who have been more hit than
this is that we are seeing.
Yes. Yes. Look, a lot of guest houses, people that took the opportunity to invest since Professor Glover's Hotel Cisneros, which was like the blue chip hospitality facility in the whole of the Volta region. It's all gone. A lot. Dr. Anya and Co, they've all come, including Aqua Safari. Have you been to Aqua Safari? Go and check. Aqua Safari is in crisis. You understand? So, Aqua Safari is in crisis because it's so close to the estuary, because of the ambience, and it's low and so low lying. So once the estuary, the levels in the estuary rises by even just a foot, it's in crisis. And not Aqua Safari alone. All other persons who have moved towards that dam to invest in residential property and other real estate, either commercial or private, they're also in crisis. Some time ago, it was fashionable for people to go and buy island in Ada. You heard of that. People were buying islands. And I said that my knowledge in geography will make me do that. Wow. But it was fashionable. There are people who go and buy a whole island and say, that's my property. All those islands are submerged. Wow. With properties on them and all. You understand? So the problem is more than meets the eye. Both upstream
and downstream.
Upstream, in addition to residential and commercial properties, farmlands. That is the breadbasket of the country. Farming around the lake throughout the country is such a big thing.
a particular company named one Golden Exotic.
Yes, yeah, Golden Exotic. They
It's
produce
also
bananas.
recorded over $500,000 loss.
And that is even downstream. I know their farm.
So that's one other, in fact, at least.
Yes, I know
record that we
their
have.
farm. I know the Volta is the exotics into pineapples and banana and all that. But I speak of family.
My rice farm is gone.
Oh,
At where?
Agogo.
wow.
Agogo.
Yes.
That's a dry area.
So,
Yes, a dry area. So I was going to go. Yes, that is Afram. That is the catchment area for the Afram River, which is now part of the lake.
It's only this year that I started.
So at least now that he started talking, I just think that it is worth it that I introduce the man who has just indicated that your rice farm,
200 acres.
Yes.
200 acres.
Yeah.
Yes. Maize farms in
And
the
they
dry
appear to
will
be-
all be gone.
Charlie.
It's not just rice, but maize.
Good morning,
beans.
welcome.
Good morning,
Good
brother.
morning. Your
Good morning.
rice farm is gone.
It's gone.
200 acres.
You see, I try to encourage my people in Asante Achimno to go into rice farming this year, and indeed I provided support for them all. Incidentally, yesterday some of them called me that they are about harvesting, but unfortunately for me, at the estuary of Afram and Owam, my farm is totally lost.
Hey, total.
Totally
Wow.
lost.
It's submerged.
Totally lost.
200 acres rice farm.
Totally lost.
Member of Parliament for
In fact,
Asante
I provided weedicides and fertilizers for the outgrowers.
investment.
And fortunately, some of them who were on the upstream, they have no problems. But those of us who wanted to
The low-lying,
go to the low-lying
yes,
areas,
that's, along
we
the
lost
lakeshore.
everything.
And it's more fertile.
But it's an experience that we need to share. But again, when it comes to my turn, I will start from
Yes,
the corrective
Measures.
engineering.
So let me
Anyway,
wind
welcome.
up. Let me wind up. So
wind
in addition
up for
to
me.
myself, North Dine, and Afajato South, Bando is also affected. Biakuya is affected in the Nkunya area. Karachi East, Karachi West is heavily affected.
we'll go into the areas that have been affected because they're quite
Yes.
wide.
That's upstream. That's upstream.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I speak of
Why did we
businesses,
get here?
residential homes, farmlands, and as
Right.
well as those who are into fish farming, that is aquaculture on the lake proper, as well as downstream.
So when should we be seeking answers to the accountability question? Is it after?
Let's deal with the
yes.
relief matters.
That's where I want to start.
Yeah.
Or
So in terms of the
when-
relief matters, we are looking for roofing sheets, some timber.
I'll give you time to make that
Yeah,
appear.
yeah.
Don't worry.
Okay.
That's why we even brought you all the way from South Dai to
right.
this place this morning. So that will be given to you. Very well. It's a promise.
Very well. But let me
Okay.
let me wind up with this. A week today, the lake was doing 277.12. A week today.
277.
Yes. Sunday, last week Sunday, the lake did 277.14. The Monday, it did 277.24. Increasing. Wednesday, it did 277.31. And did, I think, 277.36 as of between Thursday and yesterday. So the idea that is the levels are dwindling, I disagree given the figures. Even with the heavy spillage, look at the date, the official date they've given. That's 15th September. They began the spillings 15th September. So it should tell you that the lake has been pregnant with water for so long. Because even though, so perhaps for now, I'm not in the sciences. Yes, but the figures, if they do the calculation determining the cubic meters of water that has been spilled between 15th September and today in 30 days time, vis-a-vis how much inflow has come in from the tributaries and the Bagri Dam, VRA ought to have, there's something we call in law foreseeability. They should have foresaw this. That they will have enough water in order to spill early. And then water levels would have threatened power productivity or production, if those were their fears.
Okay. So let me also acknowledge the Deputy Director of the Volta Regional Health Directorate. Dr. Jokoto, good morning, welcome.
Good morning. My regards to all your viewers and listeners. It's a pleasure to be here.
And always good to have you join us.
Good morning to all your panelists as well.
Great. Lawyer Martin Kpebu, please, to the extent that, I mean, I have this document from the VRA that explains the fact that this controlled spillage started on the 15th of September at 20,000 cubic feet. That's what was happening. Until now that we are talking about 180,000. That's what has led to this level of flooding that we're seeing. When we spoke to the Volta Regional Minister, he indicated that if the people raised concerns that they didn't have enough notice when the uncontrolled spillage started, they could be right. Because with the controlled spillage, the VRA gave them some notice. But the uncontrolled spillage, this which has led to this, because from 15th of September, we didn't hear of any flooding. So the uncontrolled spillage is what has led to what we are seeing right now, with over 22,000 persons displaced. If 1966, 1968, 1969, 1970, 1971, 1972, 1974, 1991, 2010 recently, there was there was a spillage of excess water, including 1999. Yeah. All these years I've mentioned, there was spillage. We didn't experience something like this. Clearly something went wrong, is it not?
Yeah, obviously. Obviously, yes. So it just tells you that something definitely went wrong. You know, I've heard various versions of this, you know, the cause of this particular situation, okay, this disaster. Yes, some would put it squarely at the feet of the VRA. The VRA is also pushing back and saying they didn't anticipate. They didn't anticipate, yes. I mean, not that they didn't anticipate, that they did what they could. That's the case, right? Yes, because saying they didn't anticipate means that they are even, I'm even saying that they are nailing themselves, right? So incriminating themselves, no. It's really difficult. Look, you see, Honorable Dafiameko mentioned the matter of foreseeability, you see. And the law of negligence, you see, foreseeability is one critical factor in trying to establish a duty of care. So what we are looking at is that if we're looking at it in terms of negligence, okay, if you're trying to, negligence, that's if the people are going to make a case against VRA, they'll be looking at the fact that was there a duty of care? Did VRA owe them a duty of care? And in trying to find out if there was a duty of care, the first thing you'll be looking at is that was it foreseeable? Were there enough facts that showed that, hey, danger was looming? Was there enough? And so having seen that there was enough, the next question is that what did VRA do? So if it was very clear, as Honorable is saying, and I'm sure VRA too will have their say as to whether they want to dispute or admit. If it was very clear that, look, listen, the water levels were very too high and so spillage will cause so much harm, then they owe the duty to do a lot more. So to the extent that that duty has not been executed, that duty is not being fulfilled, then it means that VRA could be in for trouble. That's the thing.
Also, yes. A number of the MPs who have been affected have indicated the notice to institute a legal action against the VRA over the flooding. I mean, Okujato Ablakwa and then the Keta MP. And is this an option you are considering as well?
Why not? Class action.
Action.
Like it said, duty of care, whether that duty was breached. You see, the breach is not the issue.
Okay.
Whether the breach was foreseeable.
That's what foreseeability of
yes,
the breach.
because
I have 3 lawyers,
we
so
can look at the legal options. But hold on, I have some information to provide.
you have some information.
Yes.
Okay, Martin Pebo, let's get to the point. Yes.
He says, yeah, so let him come in. Maybe
What information
it will enrich the
I
discussion
want
for
to
me
bring
to
us
go.
back to the time of acquisition of the land for the purpose of construction of the dam. And you find that one in Act 46.
Yes.
BRA Act.
Yes.
And the acquisition
Yes.
in respect of the implementation of the project.
Yes.
And the 280 feet.
That the 280 contour. That's
contour.
what we call it. Yes.
And the resettlement plan.
Yes.
You see, if you look at all that in totality, you will see that the human error, which was supervised by the Construction and Management Committee of BRA, is where the problem comes
A
from.
human error.
The human error, settlement problem.
That's negligence. It's
Negligence.
not human error.
Would you describe it as human error or
No, you
negligence?
make your point. I like the angle you are
If
bringing.
you allow me the opportunity to conclude. You see, in the acquisition program, they had identified a certain portion of land that they had identified a certain portion of land that was considered as uninhabitable.
Okay.
And they had also acquired a certain portion that was reserved for settlement. And you will see the uphill areas as identified, acquired within the acquisition and paid for by government of Ghana. So that all these communities will be removed and positioned at this point. So my question would be, how did we get here and why did we get here? But before then, let me congratulate Roxin. I was listening to him when I was coming for providing the technical information and the statistics. I just want to congratulate him because I didn't know he was that scientific. So now I'll be careful if I'm doing a case with him in science. Yes, so during the acquisition, all these things were anticipated. In fact, the spillage and the Bagri Dam, everything was considered. If you go into the memorandum, you will find all this and the solutions prescribed. And the area that was earmarked as a no-go area for settlement. You understand? So Ghana, we are very fond of making very fine plans, but implementation fails us. So I see it more as an engineering failure than a calamity. Because all these things were anticipated within the general framework of the project. That, again, from my little technology in my house, when I have an overhead tank, there is something that they call a ball that is in it. That when it gets to
the cork,
Masa, yes,
blocks it.
When it gets to that level, it will naturally cease. I read something that says that at any point when the water level gets to this level, it will have to be discharged. But in the discharge arrangement, there was a recovery plan that discharge into a reservoir and repump into the stream where water levels go down.
Right.
Sometimes when water levels go down, we blame God. It's not raining. It's not raining. Now that it is raining too, we want to blame God and say that it is raining too much. It is absence of the technological intervention that is bringing about this calamity.
That level that you talk about, that when it gets to, water has to be spilled for safety purposes to save the integrity of the dam, it's 276 feet.
Yeah, 276.
276.
That's the
feet.
maximum
That is
power
just
production
a
level.
feet low, 2 feet low from the maximum level.
From
of
the highest
278.
water level.
So if the data we have is anything to go by, that as at, and Honorable you said as at April, May,
yes,
the dam level was at 277.
Yes, we're doing over
277
277. In fact, the whole year.
So that.
See, now let me come in.
Question.
There is a maximum level, there is a minimum level,
yes,
and there is an optimal level.
Yes.
Up optimal operational level.
Yes, yes.
And you always have to target the optimal,
Yes.
not the maximum.
Yes.
Because at the maximum, you are getting into dangerous areas.
In fact, he's making a case for you.
Yes.
He's supporting your point.
Yes.
That VRA, since 2021, we've been doing above 277 feet. Since 2021. But the optimum, in fact, the maximum power production level, which they require, is 276. So we talk of the ultimate, and the lowest is 240.
When you get to the maximum, you are getting into dangerous areas.
Thank you. You are
Because
putting the pressure,
more,
the concrete under pressure. It can buckle, it can crack.
Well,
so if you allow me to.
Yes.
So, what question I want to ask is, why have we ignored all the technical and engineering warnings that has brought us here? Why have we gotten this problem even at all?
No, who has to bear the burden of this question you're asking? Is it the VRA?
In all projects, there are evaluation and monitoring departments that go throughout the life of the project, not only at completion and implementation, but go through all. And there must be continuous monitoring. But again, we have left out another portion of taking care of the overflow. We should not allow it to just flow anyhow. The technology in the construction was that if there was an expected overflow, we needed to harvest that for reuse. And that aspect of it, we have ignored.
So you're talking about I keep going back to who has to bear the burden.
No, that is reverse cycling.
Of this.
That's the reverse cycling technology.
That's right.
If you talk about you're talking about the authorities, the VRA, they should have done this.
Yes. In fact, it was part of the general project that by all means, in fact, they anticipate by all means it will happen. Some of these things were anticipated even at construction. But when it does, how to solve it?
How do you care for? How do you remedy it?
And how do you turn this seeming tragedy into triumph? By way of bringing it back to support where you need more water. And we seem to have neglected that aspect of it. And we are saying that when you come to this point and there is a perceived agreement for spillage, let it spill. How it will spill, we did not describe. And it is in the construction document that says that when the spillage is there, let us harvest and reuse.
Right.
And why have we allowed even the spillage to go to waste? Number one, to waste. Number two, to destroy. And number three, to be expensive. So it means that we are not implementing the project the way that the designers anticipated. And this is the problem. My brother, when you go there, you find some people who are living there who are victims of this spillage now. Indeed, most of them are not indigenes of the place. The indigenes for which the acquisitions affected were resettled on the high areas. But some of us will just go there. Me, a bushman from Ashanti region, I go there. And I think that, why have they left this place? Not knowing that the people there, the indigenes, they themselves, they've been compensated and they've been resettled. And they have been resettled at the safe areas. But me, Ashanti man...
Whose duty was it to prevent?
Yes, I'm coming there. But then let me explain why. So people who came there are non-indigenes and saw the land there and probably they got there in dry seasons and thought that they were safe lands and located. Most of the people victims here are not local indigenous because they understand the hydrology of the construction. And they were forewarned, and they have been resettled and they have been taken care of. But those of us who see land as land and just go there, will go and settle. So most of these people are people who have come beyond the construction. But that does not mean that we don't have to take care of them. That does not mean that we have to take care of them. And indeed, it happens everywhere. Even in Accra here, where people are not supposed to build, we allow them to build. And they build in waterways. People have the mandate to prevent that, and they don't do it. This one, VRA had a mandate to supervise construction in the whole catchment area. And that if it is on record that this place is not habitable. BRA owed a duty to the state to ensure that people did not settle there.
So for you, the question of accountability should be asked and answers demanded, even at this stage.
But Ghana, and I like something that Roxy started, that negligence, and my good friend also supported. Ghana, professional negligence, we need to criminalize it. If we don't, the people who have caused this mess, they are sleeping somewhere. Maybe they are even profiting from the mess. So, in the same thing in the road sector, somebody goes to sign a certificate that it is done. 6 months, the road starts to deteriorate. The man who has signed that, pay him, he has taken his money and he's sleeping. Let's bring people like that back and face the law and punish them, so that some of us will learn from it. Because so this professional negligence must be a criminal offense.
There is some in the Act 29.
You support the legal action. You support the legal option to
yes.
Support.
But again, when you say legal action, you are going to exact damages, and it will go against VRA. But I want us to go beyond the civil action into a criminal realm, where somebody who would have put his signature as something done, undone, will come and face a criminal trial.
You have lost 200 acres of rice farm.
That is why I have so much pain. But I'm looking at the bigger picture.
He went to farm where he wasn't supposed to farm.
No, Lawyer Martin Pebu was on a point, and I think that I want him to just conclude.
Okay.
Lawyer.
All right. So I say that in law, for us, when you want to hold somebody responsible for their negligence, there are 3 elements. There must be a duty of care.
Okay.
That duty is being breached, and then there's resultant damage. So I said that this one, the main issue would be the duty of care. Was that a duty of care? This on the part of VRA and by extension government of Ghana. And as we even go on to establish that duty of care matter, Honorable, you know, the Act 46, it says that every year, apart from VRA presenting its report to the president, the report must also be laid before Parliament. Is that section 29? So may I find out in the interim that were you guys every year were they doing it? Because Act 40
it comes before the sector
Roxy,
committee.
You remember just before we rose, I did a paper on drainage in Ghana, and I made reference to this act. And I also talked about the negligence. As if I was a prophet.
Yes, I recall that statement.
Section 32.
Yes, and I also recall that just this August, the Director General of NADMO came before the Public Accounts Committee.
I wasn't there.
Well, you were not there. We interrogated the issues. Apparently, he had nothing as at that time. And Chairman Veji was practically sad that if any form of disaster strikes today, how is it going to go?
You mean they had no relief items?
Just one man down the line. We are here. But in addition to what my senior...
No, hold on to the point. I don't want you to lose it. Let Martin Pebu conclude.
Yes, he made a point. But I want to say that those reports come before the sector-specific committees, which is mines and energy.
Okay.
And they will deal with it.
Then so we should have some, we should have some clarity as to whether they saw the water levels. This issue that has been mentioned that for 3 years now the dam has been under so much stress. Because if for 3 years they've been bringing accounts and then bringing those reports, were we reading the reports, were we flagging the issue that then let's take steps, you see, because the section 32 says that they should state any other thing. It's not just account. It says that so provide financial provide a financial information and such information, okay, with regard to the proceedings and policy of the authority, as the authority considers may properly be given without detriment to the interests of the undertaking of the authority, right? And blah, blah, blah. So it's not just accounts, but it's a policy and any other information. So if you have a problem, the dam is in distress, why don't you? That's what you'll be highlighting first. That's what I'm saying, that maybe we should bring the committee. So from where it's looking, I mean, from where it's headed,
from
it
the warning
appears
that I made and referred to the same act, nothing happened.
Yeah.
Because I did say that it is bound to repeat.
You see that?
Roxy, remember?
I recall.
And there was
I
the whole house.
contributed.
You did contribute. And, you know, in spite of the warnings and the reference even to this same act, nothing happened, and we waited until we got to this point.
Yeah.
So the negligence is clear. But Ghanaians, as long as he's able to recover, we forget.
Let's conclude on the point.
Yes, so basically, the three elements: duty, breach, damage. The damage is what the people are suffering, what we've seen. Houses haven't been submerged, goods and other properties gone. That's the damage. That's the damage. So VRA really has to, I mean, be very forthright and has to be very proactive in trying to see how they can mitigate the damage. So that, of course, if they're able to do so much, to be able to assuage the needs and the other concerns of the people, then we can avert a lawsuit. Otherwise, with this, we are likely to get one. And that doesn't go
only one.
I mean, we'll get a lawsuit.
Maybe a class action.
Oh, yes, class action. So, well, okay, not I meant one like lawsuit in terms of a source of seeking accountability, because a lawsuit will bring accountability. See, when we go to court and VRA is asked questions, it's a form of accountability. Accountability is not done only in Parliament. No, when you go to a court of law, that's accountability you are seeking. VRA will be asked questions, how they sat on their hands and allowed this situation to build and eventually to occur and cause so much harm and, you know, damage to people. So that will be accountability.
Beyond
and then,
that,
of course, if they are found liable, if people are found to be negligent and all that, all those are forms of accountability. Even the fact that you lose the case doesn't mean you've lost accountability. The responses they give, also, yes, the whole process of it is accountability.
It's a learning curve.
Yes, it's accountability. So it's not just the final answer. So it's not just the final sentence, not the final fine, not the final compensation. That's accountability. The questions that are asked, even the failure to answer the question in the box, is also accountability, meaning that you have no answer or you are running away. So VRA should get these loins and see what it can do. But it has to be very proactive. But Mr. Okansi, I don't know if I'm running ahead of myself, but the issue that we are all struggling to understand is, if the president declares a state of emergency, we can get a lot of help. Are we coming to write as a full segment?
In fact, that's another area of consideration. There's been mounting calls for the state of emergency to be declared, at least in these affected areas.
Yes, because
Honorable Nkrumah says that, well, because there are measures in place to contain the situation, that is not being considered as yet at the moment.
Yeah, so what are we saying? I've heard Honorable Ekudjo to repeat ad nauseam that
I have also
that experts say, the diplomatic community are saying that what they need is for the president to declare a state of emergency, then they can help. So if it's a requirement, Article 31 is on point. Yes, it's on point. It doesn't appear we're going to be doing NDC, MPP. This matter is affected both. Yes, it's a national disaster. So what's the president waiting for? Let's hurry up with it, because Okujeto and Honorable Dafemeko, they've been talking about Article 31. Let's go, declare it. If you declare it, then within 72 hours, it has to be put before Parliament, right?
Yes.
Yes, then Parliament to decide whether the state of emergency should continue or they are revoking it, right? Yes. Then after 7 days, Parliament now has to decide that should it continue, and if it's going to continue it for 3 months.
Yeah.
And so what is it that maybe we are not getting? If maybe they have seen reasons why a state of emergency should not be declared, they should come out, let the debate. Because you see how we work, bias. As soon as I heard Honorable Kujeto say that some of the members of the diplomatic community say that, look, the way they can help is if a state of emergency is declared. Then quickly, I'm like, oh, but declaration, what is in it? Because when I read Article 31, what is it? It's not paper. You just declare. The president with the advice of the Council of State, Article 31, that's why it says
31(1).
That the president declares it with the advice of the Council of State. Then 72 hours, within 72 hours, put it before Parliament. Then Parliament will decide whether they will revoke it or let it continue. Then after the 72 hours, Parliament then has to decide again whether once again they are stopping it or it should go on for 3 months. Then you go further. Then it says that, look, they can even at any point stop it. So far, I don't know. You know, when we sit here, it's not everything. We can't be privy. We are not in the saddle. So we can't know everything. And I always like to say, Plato says that, look, wisdom is knowing that you know nothing. So we know the boundaries of our knowledge, right?
Right.
Yes. So we don't know all of it. So if there's any reason why a state of emergency cannot be declared, I think the president should address us on that. Yes. And also, when the thing even happened, he came and said he was away. Is that a good enough reason? When he was in America, couldn't he have done fellow Ghanaians from the U.S. and addressed us from the U.S.? So when I heard that answer that he was away, he has now come, I was like, Jesus Christ. So technology has no use. Are we saying that when the president was away all that time, he didn't receive calls from Ghana? There wasn't anything that he had to be called to answer and do anything about. So couldn't he have done some video conference to address us? So please, we are begging the president. This one, we are all hot. It's affecting all of us. 7 regions, we all have relations and family affected. This is a national disaster. If there's any reason why we shouldn't get more money through declaration of a state of emergency, he should come forward quickly. Maybe he thinks it will not work, but when he comes to discuss it with the public, people will show him that, oh, no, perhaps this one, look at it that way. That's it. Collective, there's a wisdom. The wisdom is so big that they say one man cannot embrace the baobab tree. So for me, if the president is quiet, I can only assume that there are things he knows that we don't know. So he should address us on why there should not be a state of emergency. Otherwise, then it begins to look, I don't want to put it negatively, but I begin to look negatively at it because that's what I'm saying. So I'm not going too much in. So because what is driving me is that I've heard if it declares a state of emergency, the international community will help so much, a lot more than currently. Because I've seen Honorable Brian Champon talk about World Bank, 40 million. Yeah, but they are saying more would come in. More would come in. And like we say in Chi, even the sea, what rain still falls into the sea, is that not it? So please address us, let's understand.
Never gets
exactly.
This state of emergency call is something that you support.
I support it. In fact, we don't. It is even past due. I think it should have come naturally before the time. In fact, anything that will bring relief to Ghana, be it given by who or not, is welcome. So the call is very welcome, and I want to believe that the president is considering this prompting.
It's been well over a week now.
Yes.
That's slow.
And
I want to believe that the president is considering this prompting.
Nothing of consideration is too long.
You see, if you weigh the pros and cons, we'll lose nothing if we call for it. We only gain what we will gain if the call brings in anything. So for this one, it is not political. All of us are in suffering. And like I'm saying, it is not about one constituency or one area.
True.
It's affecting the whole of Ghana. And indeed, if you go to the north, some people in the northern areas are also going through this. So the state of emergency has been called by all of us. I'm sure President must consider it critically.
He must consider
it. That brings us to
I want you to take
the constitutional provision of President may take decisions pursuant to consultations. In fact, that constitutional provision, and supported by the case of Ghana Bar Association versus Attorney General, that position must change. It is a constitutional clause that must change it, so that the consultative decision given to a president must be binding on him.
It must be binding on the president.
Of course.
Okay.
Otherwise, what is the need for the consultation?
Very, very, very important.
Can I come in before?
Let me play. This is what Kojo Ponkoba said about the state of emergency calls and what government and the VRA has put in place. Reason why the state of emergency is not being immediately considered. These are some, it says, the measures that have been put in place so far to deal with the impact of the flooding or the spillage of the excess water. Take a look.
If the relief efforts are going. if we are finding that there are gaps in it, what we need to do is to intensify to ensure that the people who are supposed to benefit are benefiting. And if it's going well, we need to keep doing more of that. I was there with the Vice President yesterday. They are parts of the 20 centers. There are some of the 20 centers that are taking care of people pretty well, and people are pretty comfortable with it. If you ask them, they'll tell you. And then there are some of the relief centers where people complain of inadequacy of relief materials. I think we need to focus on ensuring that places where there are gaps, get those gaps closed. Secondly, I think it's also important that we mobilize some more support. Private sector is helping. There are media houses that are helping. If there's a need to have some of our international compatriots, support us, we'll be happy to receive their support. I don't think it's so much about the branding that is put on it. As a start, about 10 million Ghana cedis is being made available by the Volta River Authority to support the exercise. So we have to keep an eye on it day by day for this first phase.
So that's Kojo Oponko, my information minister there.
Just one sentence. But that doesn't answer it. That's why I said that. Look, I'm saying that maybe Honorable Dafemepo, you guys are here. What the statement I want us to interrogate is that I understand they say if you declare it, we will get more donations from the international community. That's correct. That's not what he's addressing. Is it false? Is that what they're saying? Are we saying that Honorable Dafemepo here, Honorable Okujeto, they are misleading us? Because the simple statement is that if you declare a state of emergency, we'll get more help. So if we are already even at IMF, why is it a shame? We didn't.
It should be presumed.
Yeah. So what is the
difficulty?
Yes.
You only need to shout for help.
So
shouting for help is not disgraceful.
Exactly. So what is it? Can government? Can the president talk to us? Let's understand. The MPs misleading us. Is that the case? He should address us quickly. Look, and time is of the essence. This kukwasa, it must stop. Is your Honorable Oponkrumah saying some people are comfortable? Somebody outside his home, you are saying somebody in a shelter is comfortable.
Not just outside.
Oh, come on.
Look, you are so discomforted by, how water can be discomforted.
A man's home is his castle. So you take the man out of his home.
The details of the state of emergency call, the Article 31 has some details which you made reference to. Exactly what has to be taken into consideration.
Yes, that's not
before
difficult.
The declaration.
It's not difficult at all. This one is affected both NDC and PP, right? And it's common knowledge that voter even votes more for this NDC. So if you go to Parliament, who is going to torpedo it? That's why I said the president.
What would be the possible impact or implication of declaring a state of emergency?
That's what I'm saying. That is the point.
Okay. Here's what will happen. Now, under Article 31(1), the burden is actually on the Council of State. It's the Council of State that must convene and make that determination.
So on the advice. So he must be
actually, this provision is quite different. See, the president may, acting in accordance with the advice.
Is the may.
Hold on. I agree. But the fire must be set by Council of State.
Okay,
Masa. Let me.
But he can also ask them.
He can nudge them that we are in crisis. So he will nudge the Council of State to convene, make that determination, and send him the resolution. Then, based on the resolution, which will be the advice, he will act in accordance to it.
He may.
Now, yes, he may. Now, the benefits are that the president can then deploy thousands of soldiers to go to the ground and work. He can deploy the 64 engineers to build roads, cut new roads, use their machines to build new steel bridges, because engineered roads have been cut off, have been flooded, have been submerged. Residential homes or makeshift residential facilities can be built for the people by the soldiers.
Okay.
Because that is like in a wartime, we are in a state of emergency. But if you don't declare it, you can't deploy the army in this manner, because Parliament will ask you questions. You see? But
so even though the Navy is there,
do you know how many people are there? If you see 10, 15 naval officers in a boat, that is not deployment.
Well,
at all.
Okay.
We have a certain contingent stationed on the dam. We have a certain naval contingent stationed on the dam as a matter of security installation.
The question directed at Oponkrumah was misplaced. So the question ought to have been, what prevents the state of Ghana to declare a state of emergency. Then he provides.
So
I think that there's some
emergency.
consensus.
So the
at least
state
on
of
this
emergency
table.
must be declared because there are benefits that will
Come
to the country.
At
when
least
we do
there's
that.
some
Let me
consensus
say this.
along the NPP, NDC.
I have
both of
approached
you that there
This
should
one
be a
is not
state of
Let me say this.
emergency.
This one is a national-
let's,
response to a
I
national
want
disaster.
Mr. Jampo to
Yes,
make
but let me
a point.
conclude
He's
before
been very patient.
Yes, you know, I think for the first time, this is not his domain, so he's listening to us.
No.
Look, I have approached Lions Club International for help. Lions Club International. They are mobilizing to assist.
This is the source of
All
the
right?
problems.
Okay.
But they are making overtures to Lions Club Global. Now, they must give reasons why Lions Club International must assist. If we are declared a state of emergency,
Okay.
all these international charity organizations can come in and assist.
Okay.
But there are issues that I want to address in respect of some matters that my brother Apia Kubi raised.
That will be your concluding statement.
Yes.
I want to come to
Yes, so-
Professor Ransford Jampo. But before we go to that, some few hours ago, there was a fire outbreak at the Makola Mall. And we understand that the CBG branch of that in that area, the Makola Market Mall, was also almost compromised by this fire outbreak. And the Ghana National Fire Service has been attending to that fire outbreak at the Makola Market Mall. So that is the information that we have. And it started at about 1 a.m. Earlier today. That's the information that we're getting. Professor Jampo, so beyond this state of emergency call and so on, there are children, in fact, that have been affected.
No, affected.
And then also, we also got to know
don't send me there. I mean,
we'll
let me have my bite
deal
on
with this,
all
and then-
that have been said.
And then you will
before.
get into the impact that is having as well.
Let me
That's what I
let me
wanted us
have
to
my.
do.
You see, we
Yes.
started this program at 7:15. It is 7:24. 8:24. So over 1 hour, you've given my 3 colleagues all the time to be talking. And when I was quiet, they are telling me that it's because it's not in my area.
Which I
Who told you?
disagree. Yes.
I have a lot of things to say. And then our colleague who is joining
He's taking a lot of notes.
yes, I mean, so I'll plead that you would apportion the time so that it would not look like we are redundant and
Not
we are,
at all.
You know, I was in a rush to this place, and as a result of that, I forgot my spectacles. So the things I've written here, I can't even read them.
Young man like you.
and they were saying that after wearing the spectacles for some time, I can fully see. Today I abandoned it. I can't. I've written things here. I cannot even see.
I'm happy you can regurgitate your memories.
You can. Let me struggle and see. But you see, a couple of weeks ago, I met a group of students, and I was advising them to take their education serious and to ensure that whatever we are teaching them, they imbibe and then they apply, and that they shouldn't be cutting corners in trying to get their degrees. Otherwise, then their degrees will become questionable. And then also, if their degrees are questionable tomorrow, if they are reposed with important positions of trust, they will disappoint us. So I quickly gave an example that if you want to be a pilot, there are requirements that you have to fulfill. If you don't fulfill those requirements and you are cutting corners, you'll be given a plane to fly. And then anytime we go sit in a plane, we have a lot of confidence and trust in the pilot, like the way we have confidence in God. We put our lives in the hands of the pilot. Now, if the pilot were to be somebody who cut corners and in his bid to acquire his education and all that, then he would jeopardize human life. I think I said that 2 weeks ago to some students, and it appears that it is playing out with this particular VRA, matter. It appears that some people's education and certificates are questionable. And that's how come we are getting to where we are getting to. It's not about bagging all the degrees and all the masters and all the PhDs. It's about also how you backed them and how you are going to to make sure that they are applicable to the problems that you are supposed to be solving. It also appears to me that there's been poor implementation of the project as eruditely articulated by Honorable Andy Appiah Kubi, that there were places that people were not supposed to settle. And who had the duty to ensure that those people never settled there in the first place? Per the project, this particular matter had to be implemented such that you would go quickly to tell the people who were located so close to the banks of the rivers that, look, it could get full, and when we decide to spill, this is likely to happen. Nobody was implemented. And then also it appears that there is a lack of patriotism on the part of many of us, even in our quest to discharge duties reposed in us. You are spilling, but without thinking about its impact on the lives of other people. And right from the word go, even before benefiting from the invaluable information from the members of parliament here, I sat down and I was asking, couldn't this have been done bit by bit? And couldn't we have averted, the situation? So there is clearly lack of patriotism on the part of the duty bearers. And then, so negligence, has been talked about. And what you guys have all avoided, I will go there. But let me also say that, let me comment the University of Ghana branch of the University Teachers Association of Ghana.
Yes.
For the swift statement they issued.
Which you are the president.
Yes, I am the president. For the swift statement we issued to commiserate with our colleagues and our friends, our brothers and sisters who are undergoing and experiencing this particular havoc. And we did not only commiserate with them, but we've initiated intervention. We've initiated a program that would ensure that we contribute fiscal cash to send to them to help them alleviate the challenges that they are going through. So, Honorable Roxanne, very soon you hear of us. Our people are contributing vigorously, and we want to help alleviate the challenges affecting the people. But I think the key issue for me is about the kind of demeanor and I don't know, but the demeanor of the president when he visited. I thought that the president, it is important for us to make this point. Yes, you may have served your term and you may be exiting, but the president has a responsibility to leave a certain legacy that posterity will be proud of. I didn't like the gestures and the demeanors of the president who visited these victims, especially when he was talking to the Togbi and was pointing his left hand at him. You, I'm telling you that if it were, I'm coming here and it's a matter affecting the nation, and if it were to be votes, getting votes, I thought that particular part of the statement was completely irrelevant. It was not statesmanly. It was unnecessary. I must confess, he ended well by trying to massage or to fix the challenge that he himself had created in his in the statement that in his presentation. But the particular aspect of trying to talk about votes and trying to be pointing left fingers at the Togbi and all that, in my view, was completely unacceptable. In times of disasters like this, all people require is leadership. Okay, leadership. In times of disasters like this, we require leadership. And when we are talking about leadership, we are talking about ability to inspire confidence in people. Okay, so your utterances should inspire confidence in them and make them feel that we can overcome this challenge. But the way and manner he spoke, in my view, was completely unpresidential, and it's becoming one too many. And with the greatest of respect to the president, there are certain chiefs that when you appear before them, you wouldn't be able to have this kind of courage to speak the way the president spoke. And I think that the days where Kwame Nkrumah threatened that upon attainment of independence, he would ensure chiefs will run away and leave their sandals behind them are long gone. Fast forward to the PNDC era that introduced decentralization, that empowered DCs to authorize the beating of gong gong, that also undermined or took over some of the functions, of the chiefs. Okay, all were errors that undermined the autonomy and authority and the respect of the chiefs. It was because of this that the framers of the 1992 Constitution said that, well, one of the mechanisms for introducing to bring back the lost respect and image of the chiefs, is to ensure that they don't do partisan politics. And so we ourselves as a nation, we've been able to put in place mechanism to ensure that at least our traditional rulers are respected. And so the last thing that you want a certain president to do is to make comments that can be described as condescending. I think it was absolutely unacceptable. The other bit is the lackadaisical attitude in trying to impose a state of emergency. I've heard so many comments. It may not be so, but I've heard so many comments to the effect that it's an attempt to punish the people of that region. It may not be so. It may not be so. But you see, if declaring a state of emergency would not cost us money, but will rather attract assistance, then what is the point in being lackadaisical in declaring it? If you don't do that, then you feed into the perception or into the narrative that maybe because the president said that if it's about vote getting, I wouldn't be here, then you are trying to find a backdoor way to punish the people. And like I said, it may not be so. And if it is not so, if it's not so, then let there be a swift action in declaring a state of emergency so that we can benefit from all the interventions that will help alleviate the challenges and the difficulties that our people are going through, so that would also not be feeding into certain narrative, because I don't believe that we should have it in our psyche that the certain president or a certain segment of the people ruling are for a region or are against a particular. Once you are elected as president, you become a father for all. Indeed. And so we should not even allow that idea to fester, that maybe the president likes these people, he doesn't like this. It is not right. And one of the things that will ensure that that idea doesn't fester around is for the kind of swift intervention that will be brought about when a state of emergency is declared. So I urge the president that if it will not hurt us, if the IMF conditionalities do not forbid us from declaring state of emergency, then immediately let them do so, and so that we would have a basket of assistance, coming from all walks of life to assist and to help alleviate the challenges of our people.
Very, very important point that you made there, President Apo. And I'll come back to you, because, you see, within this week, you raised concerns about how this has also impacted on education, because as we've seen, the only places being used as a safe haven for the victims of this disaster are classrooms, because we don't have community centers and others to even house them. So education has come to an end for all of these children who are there, and nothing has been done, no provision made for them to catch up on lost time. So that's also another issue that we'll touch on briefly. But Dr. Jogoto, I appreciate you staying with us, and also at least hearing from all the other panel members on the issues that they've been talking about. The concern about the health implications of this. We understand that over time, the flood water is said to be contaminated and giving off pungent smell. Is this the case?
Thank you very much. That is certainly the case. But before I proceed, kindly give me the opportunity to thank you for allowing me to engage on this very privileged and esteemed platform. And let me also use this opportunity to express the sympathies of the Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Abuaji, my Regional Director of the Health Service, Dr. Chrysanthos Kubio, Director of Public Health, Director ICD, who have also been on the ground. And it's also very appropriate that all the support that we have received from people, we acknowledge them. We acknowledge our health workers who've been on the ground for at least the past 10 days, and all those who prepared for this particular disaster over the past couple of months. Our surveillance officers, disease control officers, health promotion officers, our doctors, our nurses from the various facilities across the Tong areas and other districts. Let me also thank all the other collaborators who have been assisting from the Volta River Authority. They've been of great help to the health service. Let me also thank the district assembly. Let me thank the members of parliament. Let me thank the various political parties who have also come to support. The UN group has been there supporting. World Health Organization has been there supporting. Yeah, so to your question, yes, this is indeed true that in Mepe, which appears to be the hardest hit community, we have a stagnant pool of water that appears to be covering a significant portion of their land size. And this pool appears to be cut off from where the main source of water was from, that is the lake. And under this pool is livestock that are decaying because they I'm sure they couldn't escape the wrath of the flood. We also have cemeteries and pit latrines that have been taken over by the flood. So that is a lot of contaminated water that is stagnating. That is a very wonderful ecosystem for the breeding of all kinds of microorganisms. The water has begun to darken, and it is now giving off a very pungent smell in the community. And looking at it before this recedes, that's millions of cubic meters of water. I'm sure before it recedes, it's going to take about a month to 6 weeks. So that is one thing that we should be thinking about. It's going to have dire health implications. So if there's a way that this water can be evacuated, water tankers pump it out, send it to safe areas where it can be discharged. I think that if there's a major operation in that regard, it's going to help. Because, like I said, people are still crossing this stagnant pool of water. One of the safe havens, St. Kizito, has been cut off. So, and we have more than 1,000 people on that safe haven, and they keep on crossing in and out. They are coming into contact with that water. Although safe water is being provided by all stakeholders, although we are emphasizing on hygienic protocols, sanitary and hygienic protocols, the exposure to this water is something that still poses a threat to us. And if something is done about it, it's really going to help.
So you say it will take about 6 months for this water to recede from the
4 to 6 weeks. 4 to 6 weeks.
From 6 weeks?
Sure. Best case scenario, depending on what...
4 to 6 weeks?
Yes. That's what we've been told, for it to recede.
Okay, what's the health risk that this situation poses to the people who are there? This water that you have confirmed that is as we speak, has generated, giving out pungent, what you say, very serious pungent smell.
First of all, is the inconvenience to the survivors who are around. Imagine living by this particular stagnant pool of water. Now, we are also looking at waterborne diseases because of the contact that people will continue to have with this water. People may be forced to try and drink it because they don't have safe drinking water. Not all of them are getting, and I'm sure that there are efforts in place to make sure that everybody gets. Diseases like typhoid fever, diseases like cholera, which are epidemics, which can kill quickly and spread quickly, is one major threat that we are looking at. We are looking at diseases like yellow fever, dysentery. And if action is not taken, and if care is not taken, and some of these diseases happen, we are going to face a very massive public health threat. In addition to that, we also have vector-borne diseases like malaria. This and various stagnant water, breeds a lot of mosquitoes. And we are going to have an increased incidence of malaria if no intervention is put in place by way of mosquito nets. And we know that pregnant women and children under 5 who are part of the victims can be very vulnerable to malaria and severe malaria. Some of them can lose their lives. So those are the major health implications that we are looking at, in addition to the stress-related illnesses like hypertension and diabetes, which can be aggravated by the situation that the victims find themselves in.
When I visited you earlier in the week, you indicated to me that the cases of hypertension is rising because of the impact of the loss of property by some of the victims of this flooding. And it's still on the rise?
We have instituted measures. We have the Psychology Association of mental health officers who are offering psychosocial support. And usually at the beginning, that is when it is more worrisome, because that is when they feel for the first time the impact of what has happened. Over time, when they are spoken to, and then when they see support coming, they begin to calm down. But when you screen every population, you are likely to also pick people who are known hypertensive clients but do not know. So because of this intensive focus on the people who are affected, especially those on the safe havens, we are also picking people who had these conditions but did not know. But like I mentioned to you earlier on in the week, some people who did not have hypertension, had no knowledge, did not have previous risk factors, all of a sudden had transient increase in their blood pressures. But for some of them, as we calmed them down, rechecked it, it's normalized. And we are continuing to monitor the situation and provide the necessary support to the affected population.
Do we have a public health emergency on our hands?
If there are no interventions put in place, certainly we are going to have a public health emergency. So we are on the alert at this point. And let me emphasize that this would feed into public health systems resilience. When we had COVID, we had the opportunity to build our public health systems over the 2 years. There's been a lot of investments into that by Ministry of Health, Center for Disease Control, Ghana Health Service. A lot of capacity has been built, the Korean government. So that afforded us the opportunity, for instance, to do our simulation exercise by July, when we had indication from VRA. And all the things that are required, the 4 key pillars, I would say, WASH, that is water sanitation and hygiene protocols, being deployed, risk communication and social mobilization. We need to have a centralized command center to get them good information. One of the early things that happened during this disaster was people were fleeing, including health workers, because of wrong information that the dam was collapsing and the water was coming for everybody. So we need this centralized system. Every now and then you hear that there's an outbreak of a disease. Meanwhile, we, those who are monitoring the disease conditions, don't see any disease outbreak at this point. So it's very important. We are also talking about enhanced surveillance, making sure that we pick up every disease as early enough so that we can be able to isolate and manage it. We are also looking at case management. We are stockpiling medications. So with all these interventions, although the circumstances are rife for a public health emergency, we are doing everything possible with the technical assistance that we are receiving from the Ghana Health Service headquarters and partners to avert it.
There was something that you mentioned earlier that made us all cringe, that there's a possibility that some of the victims of this flooding are consuming this contaminated water, or may consume this contaminated water that has developed this serious pungent smell as a result of the contamination by the fecal matter, and then also the decaying poultry and others that you've mentioned. That's a possibility.
Yes, certainly it is a possibility if we don't sustain the intervention over time. There's also the likelihood that, you know, the news cycle in this country, within a week, we move on to the next thing and begin to talk about it. And these victims will still be there. And we are all aware that this can take 4 to 6 weeks. So I am sounding this alert to let people know that it is very important for us to sustain the efforts that are in place now. When drinking water is a physiological need, and definitely people are going to have to drink some kind of water to survive, survival first. So if we do not continue to provide them with safe drinking water, yes, there's a possibility that they can depend on that water and try and purify it by boiling, which may very much be inadequate. Or they could use it for other things, like washing, or they could also be walking through the contaminated water, and also indirectly ingesting some of this water. So all those possibilities exist, and we should take steps to ensure that we don't get to that point.
Dr. Jokoto, so what do you need now?
Thank you. The first thing we need is a coordinated response. I've seen the influx of so many people who mean very well to the people who've been affected. But what I have to emphasize is that we have to have a central point to coordinate this. If not, there could be still starvation in the midst of plenty. There should be people who would ensure that, let's say, for instance, all those who want to assist, provide health care, they should get in touch with the District Health Directorate, who are doing a phenomenal job. And then they will deploy them to the various areas. In North Thong alone, we have 15 safe havens that are currently taking care of close to 5,000 people. These people couldn't go to their friends or families because they don't readily have some. So we should be able to coordinate to ensure that assistance gets to all of them. And all the partners definitely should be very much welcome on board throughout the long haul. Then we also have to ensure that we have adequate supply of logistics all throughout. We continue to review the situation. This is an evolving situation. So whatever resources you have to meet your projections might quickly change. So in as much as we are stockpiling, I'll still continue to appeal to all to continue to prepare towards supporting. You can always contact the Regional Health Directorate. We are ready to offer all the technical assistance, and we need a lot of encouragement at this point. We have the health workers who've been on the ground, sleepless nights, doing everything possible to avert any possible health crisis, and they should be supported in so many ways. We've had over 100 health workers who are displaced. We also need support to be able to resettle them so that they can continue to deliver service. We want to make sure that we sustain the delivery of essential health service. So all those who can support with any kind of logistics, be it thermometers, be it SFIC. At this point, we know that we will need more than the usual that we have. So if we get any kind of assistance from internal stakeholders, external stakeholders, that would be very helpful.
Very important detail and that clarion call that you make as well. And for us here at Media General, we're also putting together some support for you as well. And so we would come to you. This is the mobile money number that a number of you have been sending your little contributions to. So please continue to do that. 059-7433-110. 059-7433-110. The reference should be Akosombo. So please keep them coming. The merchant number 120494. 120494. I've already started receiving some pledges from here as well. So really thank you all for this. Dr. Senanu Kwesi Jokoto, Deputy Director of Health Services in the Volta region. Thank you so much for making the time to join us and then also giving us this all-important information about the reality that you're faced with and what could possibly happen if the intervention is not sustained. Thank you. I'm going to go for, go for a quick break. I'll come back, we'll round this up. We need to move on to the next issue. So please permit me. I'll be back shortly. At this quick, I've got a number of you sending us messages. We'll acknowledge the messages, read them quickly after this quick break. Stay with us.
Life can get hectic, and sometimes we forget to prioritize our well-being. That's where Vano Mineral Water steps in. A refreshing solution packed with essential minerals, Vano Mineral Water keeps you hydrated and balanced. Whether you're at home or work, Vano Mineral Water is there to keep you going. Don't let a busy schedule hinder your health. Make Vano Mineral Water a part of your daily routine. Share the love with Vano Mineral Water, the choice for a healthy, vibrant you.
This advert is FDA approved.
Rasta. What does Rasta really mean to the people? In today's episode of Rasta Vibration, this is what we're looking at. Rasta, what does it mean to you?
To me, Rasta means real.
Rasta to me means artistic.
Rasta to me means study. Rasta to me means trailblazing.
That's what people like you and I do every day.
What?
But where you there?
You do. Listen, Rasta, I have a bone to pick with you. Some of the things that you say on air, though, are morally, ethically, and politically.
Relax. Kids are watching.
Sit
down, my youth.
Respect. Rasta means the motherland, Africa.
Real artistic, sporty, trailblazing African choco malt drink.
This advert is FDA approved.
Boga Ponchinabo.
Boga Ponchini, big go.
Mabagana. No, Mabagana. Who this guy do over there? They get their crap for free.
Hey, on me back with sad
Hey, woman, baby, cool it down, Jay.
Offer. This is Bigo Cola. Tasting here big.
This is so refreshing.
You've never changed in value.
Oh no. Let's make the party begin.
Let's
go. Bigo Cola. You don't want them, they come. And they want them. Cola for the party. Bigo for your hunger.
Enjoy the big refreshing moments with Bigo Cola.
This advert is FDA approved.
Get ready to witness the most dramatic kitchen battle ever. Drama in the kitchen where rivalries simmer, egos sizzle, and only one rival can claim victory. Two rivals, spatulas in hand, egos on the line. It's not just about the food, it's about the drama. Can they put their differences aside to create the most loving meal, or will the heat of the kitchen prove too much to handle? Are you a wife or a husband? Are you a girlfriend or a boyfriend? Can you cook with your partner's ex in a bid to see whose meal tastes better? Or can you compete with your mother-in-law or father-in-law in the kitchen? Then this is the show for you. On Drama in the Kitchen, you get into the kitchen with your partner's ex or in-law and prove that you own his or her taste buds. So much drama and love in one kitchen. Be part of the Drama in the Kitchen experience by sharing your details via WhatsApp on 027 722 2641. Stay tuned for Drama in the Kitchen, coming soon to TV3.
Welcome back. This is Key Point. We're live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and also live on 3FM 92.7. Also 3FM 927 on Facebook as well, and DSTV channel 279 all across the world on 3news.com. My guest still with me in studio, Honorable Andy Apiakubi, and Martik Bebo, Honorable Nelson Roxon Dafiamepo, and Professor Ransford Jampo. If you go onto the VRH website, the Akosombo Lake levels as published 277.32 feet. That's equivalent to 84.5 meters as at end of yesterday. So that's the information. 277. Yes, 277. Even though they are spilling, we realize that it's not really reducing the water levels. And yes, maximum level 278. And I have a number of your messages here. This one here from Lambert Donko, who is a disaster risk advocate for disaster risk reduction and climate change adaptation. He says that a call for a coordinated disaster risk reduction approach in Ghana is one that must be considered immediately. You'll say, Lambert, I thank you very much for your message. This one here from Prince Henry also says that the sad aspect is what has been happening with the politicization of this situation. The president as well must be responsible in the statements made. This one here says, those seeking to excuse the grossly insensitive comments must also be questioning themselves. A leader talking about the thousands who have been affected and citizens distraught must also take that into consideration, you say. Franklin Kujo is the founding president of Imani Africa, says, good morning, Alfred. It appears the presidency thinks support for the flood victims is limited to providing tents and hot meals. So as long as these are being done by the government on a very limited scale and some private sector actors, it sees no need to declare a state of emergency. But we need support to restore victims to an appreciable level of comfort in decent housing, health, educational, social roads, and other facilities. We are very broke, and it doesn't hurt to beg for help. More than a week since the disaster, the presidency is silent on declaring a state of emergency, which ultimately leads to international assistance. Sad days in Ghana. Good morning to you, Alfred, and to your esteemed guest. Franklin Kujo, thank you very much. This one here says the springing up, I'm sure that's what you would say, of businesses and activities upstream and downstream of the lake. Who advises and allows it? What are the technical and realistic thinking, you see, that goes into it? For years now, all manner of unwanted businesses and activities have engulfed the lake and the estuary, and we have all gone to sleep looking unconcerned. A nation with lame minds is disaster risk, you say. Thank you very much, Anthony Nupenu. Okay, so before we went for that quick break, there were, my guest in studio wanted to make some donations to the TV3, in fact, the Media General, beg your pardon, Media General efforts to relieve these persons, at least with the impact of what's happened. Yoruba Piakubi.
Yes,
just yes, you can make that.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. And indeed, I make this promise to redeem before I leave the studio. And I had made the same promise and made a call for a group that I'm part to contribute to a fund to support this initiative. It did not receive the necessary attention. So I have this opportunity, I do it here. And I do a contribution of 5,000 Ghana cedis for the fund to be created by this. And I only want to encourage also the platform to create a platform for others who want to contribute. And I'll be a pioneer and an advocate to contribute to this fund. I do this promise and I will deliver it before I leave the studio today.
I thank you. Thank you very much on behalf of the disaster victims. Appreciate it. I know Lawyer Matic Bebo, we have our arrangements on the side.
Yes,
so and Professor Jampo as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
No. So we are doing our contributions through the UG UTAG. I've already contributed.
Okay, great.
And we would soon announce the total amount of money that is realized, but I've already contributed to.
I thank you.
Support you want to give to
thank
us
you very much.
On this platform. Well, if you want to lobby me, I can give. Well, I'm giving 2,000 more.
Very well.
2,000 more.
2,000 more in addition to what you've given already. Thank you very much. The Honorable Daffy Amepo is actually caught in the thick of things.
Yes.
His constituency has been affected. So for you, I know you've given a lot already.
Yes, I want to be an ambassador.
I'm the one receiving.
You are the one receiving.
Let me comment. I have fortunately I've been to some several schools.
Okay.
So my year group, Mauli School.
Okay.
The 1995 group, they are contributing.
Right.
My University of Cape Coast year group, especially those from Keslie, Fort Vaco. We have a group called the Brethren.
Okay.
They are contributing a lot. I know Lions Club International, they are doing some mobilization.
Right.
And so is the Church of Latter-day Saints. They are also doing some work. And some other groups on social media are doing. So we want to encourage each and every person to help. This is a disaster of national
So you are the receiving
yes.
But let me
add, we can say that in the Volta region alone, we have about 9 constituencies that have been affected. We have Ketu South, we have Keta, we have Anglon.
Okay, thank you.
Disaster. South, Central, North.
In fact, if you talk about the areas that have been affected, even for us, with the relief is the primary focus is the Volta region, but the other areas as well.
Yes, we have
Savannah region, Bole district has been affected,
upstream.
Northern region, Pandai,
Yes.
Bono East, we have Sine East, Sine West, Pro East, Oti region, we have Krachi East, Krachi West, Kwewu South, Western North, there's Bia East, Bia West in the Eastern region, Afram Plains,
North and South,
that's Shai Osudoku district areas as well. That's Sojaman, and then the Shai Osudoku is a Greater Accra. We have Adan East, Adan West, and so many other places. So we are talking about 8 regions that have been affected as a result of the twin effect of the spillage of the excess water from the Konsomo Dam. And also the rising water levels in the red, white, and black Voltas. And that's what's happening now. Quite a sad situation. But our next issue, still related to issues with the environment. Not at all. It shouldn't. Indeed. The next one, you know, this issue about has been going on for quite a while. The response by the Attorney General to the NDC's position on Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng's report, that's the AG's opinion. Now, this is what Sammy Gyamfi said earlier in the week when the press conference was held by the NDC. And then we'll take the AG's response. Take a look.
This man, Godfrey Dame, does not befit the stature of the High Office of Attorney General and Minister of Justice because he simply does not give a hoot about the interest of Ghana. The NDC therefore demands the immediate resignation of the Attorney General for this dubious legal advice. We wish to call on the Special Prosecutor to expedite his investigations into this matter and to immediately prosecute all those found culpable.
So then the Attorney General responds with this statement, quote, "In spite of a multitude of allegations and invectives spewed on me by the communications officer of the NDC, not a single piece of evidence was furnished by the NDC in proof of any allegation made by Professor Frimpong Boateng against any person named in his report. The entire NDC's press conference was, in point of fact, vitiated by a fraudulent attempt at explaining their orchestrated lies and abuses against him," that's Godfrey Dame, "as they want to do. The wild allegation that I am engaged in an exercise to cover up crimes allegedly committed by them is therefore perplexing, dubious, and mischievous, to say the least. I deem that press conference by the NDC as only the latest in the series of attacks on me for decisions taken in the regular course of my functions as Attorney General, which that political party finds to be inimical to its interest. I respectfully urge the public to utterly disregard the discredited assertions of the NDC as unmeritorious and lacking any form of credibility. It is the height of injustice to prosecute people for crimes when there is no evidence. The emphasis there is when there is no evidence. It is for this reason that the Office of the Attorney General did not prosecute either Professor Frimpong Boateng or his son, Jojo Frimpong Boateng, in the face of allegations by the Adansiman Progressive Association that they were seriously engaged in galamsey. Let me put it on record that we have also spoken to Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng in an exclusive interview which airs tomorrow on the first edition of Hot Issues with Kemini Amano. He has stated there in that interview, which is going to be airing, that he cooperated fully with the investigators, because one of the opinions in the AG's advice to the CID was that Professor Frimpong Boateng stopped cooperating with the investigators. At a point, he wasn't forthcoming with information about the involvement of the said individuals that the Attorney General, in his opinion or his advice to the CID, said that there is no evidence against them. Well, he said that according to Professor Frimpong Boateng, he cooperated with all of them, the investigators, and it is the CID that stopped coming to him. They didn't even ask him any questions or even get back to him about why they had stopped coming to him. So that is Professor Frimpong Boateng's response to that part of the Attorney General's advice to the CID. Let's start off with you, the Honorable Andy Appiah-Kubi, on this, especially because this issue goes to the heart of the fight against illegal mining. And if you look at Professor Frimpong Boateng's report, he provides pictures of the level of devastation caused to the environment. So shouldn't that be one of the major considerations to at least exhibit some level of commitment to show that the fight against illegal mining is being taken seriously?
Thank you very much. Let me put it on record that for me, coming from Asante Achim North constituency, we have a policy of zero tolerance for galamsey, and it has worked to now.
It has worked?
It has worked to now. If you come to my constituency, all the waters are clean. And we have done this with the support of everybody. Our chiefs are behind us, and our assemblymen are behind us, the whole community. There have been attempts. We have driven them out, and we will do it at the peril of our lives. We will do it and protect our environment. That is for Asante Achim North.
Great.
But to respond to the Attorney General's submission that there are a multitude of allegations, I agree with him. Allegations alone will not constitute evidence, but at least there are pointers that could lead to evidence. And indeed, our Criminal Offences Act has a provision that those who have information or no knowledge of commission of crime are to report them. Otherwise, they themselves could be charged and prosecuted. So if, and again, if you look at the provision on perjury, if Professor Frimpong Manso is giving information to Boateng, is giving information to a public officer, which information he cannot substantiate, meaning that the information is false, he is also liable for prosecution on perjury. So either way, I'm sure the Attorney General could even cite him, Frimpong Boateng, for perjury. And again, if he comes into the box and he cannot prove it, well, the consequential sentences could also be placed on him. But it is inadequate for AG to tell us that I don't have evidence. When, clearly this is part of the evidence that should be invoked in the prosecution of people that we see in pictures and videos. So you cannot tell us that, which place is this?
This is the Upper Brahma Forest.
Upper Brahma Forest. There has not been any commission of crime. You cannot tell us when the video is showing like this. And you can see faces. So if we want to even track these people, we could track them. So it is not enough for AG to tell us that there is no evidence where presumably evidence is abound. And indeed, the report itself alone should ignite an investigation so that the investigation will expose, in fact, people who we are seeing also in the video, and that we could even arrest them. And they could also come and give statements. And it is all part of the evidence that is required in the prosecution. So I personally don't agree when you say that we cannot find. In fact, on one occasion in my constituency, when some people tried, I went to the site. I went to the site, they ran into the bush. We confiscated their items. And indeed, there was a truck that we brought to the police and parked in the police station. And what more evidence do you want out of this?
So you are heavily involved in the fight?
In my constituency, yes. In my constituency, yes. And Nana Sapong, the Omahini of Agogo traditional area, on one occasion called me and directed me to a place. And indeed, it was a subject of Agogo who had started the Galamsey. I caused his arrest. He was prosecuted. We removed everything. We even seized his passport when he was there. You see, Nana Sapong himself called me and directed me to the place. Nana Domi Mahini called me at one point and directed me to another place. We went there. We seized their equipment and we deposited them and we warned them that they cannot come back. So in my constituency, everybody is behind me. It probably is one of the reasons I have their support, because our waters are clean. And if anybody thinks that it is going on, let that person call now and expose me. I'm prepared to, submit my integrity on the line like that. It will not happen. They will have to come and we will send them back. So, and I'm sure I'm speaking for all of us in Asante Achim. It is one of the areas probably you need to come and learn how we have protected our environment. And we are farmers, so we want to continue to be farmers and save ones as such. Our environment is more important to us. We realize that once you disrespect the environment will perish you 10 times fold. So we are not prepared to, endure the punishment of the environment. So in Asante Achim, zero tolerance for Galamsey.
There's an admirable level of objectivity and some level of patriotism in your comments about this issue. But to the extent that even though there is that temptation to want to defend because the Attorney General is part of government and you are a member of the MPP, you are looking at this as an issue that impacts not just on your constituency but a national situation.
No, I'm sharing my knowledge in the law, and I'm also sharing my disapproval of his approach. And I'm also calling for specific performances in certain areas within the law.
Okay.
So it is not about politics. This one is a nation. When we go to court on criminal charges, it's the nation against whoever. So it is not NPP or NDC against a person. It's a nation against somebody. And I'm showing my nationalistic, tendencies.
So there are some flaws in the AG's advice.
I don't agree with his submission because here, sitting down and watching the video, I see evidence. So it cannot be a case that there is no evidence to support the charges. So this man that I saw in the video If he is arrested and he's brought here, what more evidence do you require for me to prove his culpability than showing him the video? And indeed, are you not this person? Once he answers he's the person, are you not the one who is doing this? So it is not that we have to place the burden of providing evidence on just one person or the complainant. Let that shared responsibility affect all of us. So if I know of culpability of somebody, out of my nationalistic instinct, I can go and prepare such evidence. So let it not be the case that it is only the complainant that will have to provide the evidence. It is the responsibility of the state to also, that is why we have an investigator to support a prosecutor. So, Mr. AG, I respectfully disagree with you.
Honorable Andy Appiah-Kubi, thank you for this. And the video, in fact, the pictures we are putting on your screen are pictures we took from the Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng report.
The only problem I have with the office is that he spoke too late.
Okay.
When he was chairman, he should have come forth with the complaints where he was. In fact, he would have had better access to the evidence than now. I'm very worried that he didn't do it at the time. But never.
But he said while he was chair, he actually spoke to the president. He met the president a number of times. And in fact, met the Council of State at a point and complained about the complicity of government actors in addressing the matter. So even while he was chair of the IMCIM, he indicated specifically that in the case of the late,
I'm better informed by
John,
your submission.
Yes.
So, Prof, then I'm sorry, but I think that this matter must not die.
So those are the pictures. These pictures we got from the Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng report, that 38-page report. This is the Apaprama forest.
How would you say that there's no evidence when you have this?
And we have the Tiwa forest as well. And then also, most part of what's happening in the Eastern and Ashanti region. This is it. If you go into the report, you see all these pictures in there. So there was a specific mention of Imperial Heritage. That was the company that, in the report, Gabriel Asare-Tudaku was described as the legal counsel for that firm, correct?
Yeah.
And according to Professor Frimpong Boateng, at the point when, through the task force's work, they discovered that the company was engaged in not prospecting, but in mining with a prospecting license, which amounted to illegal mining.
That's
because you cannot use a prospecting license for mining. And when he stopped them, he received a call from Gabriel Asare-Tudaku. When Gabriel also came out to explain why he made that call. Professor Frimpong Boateng indicated that in his view amounted to some level of influence, and he being stopped trying to do his work. He captured it in the report.
Yes.
So, Lamat Bebo, was that enough basis for the AG to have made reference to that statement made by Professor Frimpong Boateng as does that amount to some level of evidence to an act during that period?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So can say that's how come the statement by the AG beggars believe that there's no evidence. It's a mockery. As if he's gaslighting us. Yes, that's how politicians are. They'll get the evidence. He said, oh, there's no evidence. Then you now start questioning your sanity. You yourself, that's gaslighting. Politicians like that. The thing is here, oh, it's white. No, it's blue. Look at it again. It's blue. It's blue. Confuse you, sir.
Generalization is worrisome.
But they will tell you, generally, when you read, they will tell that politicians like gaslighting
So
citizens.
in this instance, he wants to be exempted.
Every time he wants
he has stated...
If every time we have to state this exception, we will not make much progress. So everything I say here, generally, please take it that there is an exception. So every time we state the general, just remember there is an exception. So Honorable Appiah-Kubi has already shown through his submissions that he's the exception. So that's fine. Let's move on. Yeah, so Mr. Okanse, it's very clear that, look, from Pom Boateng's report, went a lot. It took us very far. You've shown the evidence, and then, but let me zero in on the Gabi angle that you've shown. From Pom Boateng says, look, Gabi called, and TV3, you also even did an interview. The last time we discussed this, we saw it. Gabi sat in there and said Imperial Heritage has all their licenses. So what we expected the investigators to do was to go around and check EPA, Minerals Commission, Water Resources Commission, and all the other agencies that give permits and licenses for actual mining to take place. Simple. So to the extent that the AG's opinion doesn't cover this, the opinion is incomplete. It doesn't pass muster. Because once, and you see, I went straight for the Jaguar because you're already aware. So let's repeat the basic facts, just in case some didn't follow that aspect. The reason I went for the Jaguar is that the basic facts are that, as you've seen in the video, Erastus Asaredonko says that the destruction was the size of 10 football fields. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So imagine 10 football fields. And then when you watch the video, he did a documentary. If you watch the video, you see one of the soldiers complaining that, look, for him, that was the biggest distraction he had seen. That's a distraction caused by Imperial Heritage, Gabi's, the company he was acting for. He says that is the biggest distraction. The soldier was in so much pain. That is the biggest distraction he's seen. So when you have the distraction being undisputed, Erastus is still alive, okay? And then also the gold that they seize gold. They seize gold. Erastus Asaredonko was standing there. Then apart from that, there's also the concentrate called black. So all these are evidence. So what you needed to do, the pinnacle of the case was that the investigators were under a duty to go to the regulatory agencies to find out if the requisite permits and licenses were truly obtained. Then the case would be open and shut. Open and shut, like we mean so easy to win. Because it's license. Once you've seen the distraction, you say, Master, now license no way. Where is the license? If you don't have a license, then you are in trouble. So this thing AG is defending. That's why I say it's gaslighting. As gaslighting, when somebody tries to deny what is so obvious, say, oh, it never happened, it never happened, it never happened, it never happened. So that you are now left questioning your own sanity. That's how come, or sometimes you hear gaslighting in relationships, the abusive ones. Yeah, the other person is just abusing you, causing you to have doubt. You even begin to doubt your own confidence. So because of that, I had to go and watch the video again. And Mr. Okanse, you have played the video, part of it here. Part of it. Distraction the size of 10 football fields. 10 football fields. And Gabi confirms that that's his company. Gabi Ochredako, right? That's his company.
No,
the company for which he was acting.
Is he a lawyer for the company?
He says lawyer.
So that is not his company.
Yes, stands for your correction. Oh, but all along we've been making it once in a while to slip. Yes.
Don't slip.
Yeah, thank you. So he says that, look, he's lawyer for the company.
Are you the host?
These are the
respectful.
No, it's okay. Let's go.
It's all right.
So with that, then like I'm saying, please, this is an open and shut case. So what we have to say about this, to conclude on this particular matter, is that, look, thankfully this is a criminal case. It has no expiration date. The AG should go back, ask the police to do proper investigations. Because look, and I can show you, last year, around this time, October, 4 of us reported Akonta mining to the CID. They are still investigating.
What's the status of that case?
Madam Fosina Kofi,
and
engineer Ken Ashigbe,
and then
Kwame Sapon
of the CID.
Yes.
What's the latest with that?
Yeah, so we haven't met Madam Fosina Kofi, CID boss, in the last 4 months. I think, we met a bit before 4 months ago. And then she said they were still investigating, so we should be patient. Madam Kofi, lawyer stroke police woman, police officer, it's been long. We are begging. This thing is not too long. You see, it's not rocket science. Look, that particular case, the Akonta mining case, that one, the minister responsible for lands and forests, Abu Jinapo, came out to say that, look, Akunta Mining didn't have a license. The CEO of the Minerals Commission, Martin, what's his name? He also came out to say that Akunta Mining has no mining lease. It's only the president who came at a point to defend Akunta Mining by saying that at the time he was speaking in Kufuridua, sometime
January this year,
Akunta Mining was not mining in the forest. And I was like, really? Who has asked the president? We are talking about mining at a certain point. So why would the president come in January 2023 to seek to absolve Akunta Mining of actions that took place prior to January 2023? So, Madam CID boss, yeah, we've been very patient. You see, I've been quiet. We've tried to keep this thing quiet, give you enough time. But I think, look, writing to Minerals Commission for their confirmation whether they were leases, going to Water Resources Commission, EP, and the rest. About 1 year, it's been long. So we beg, let's hear something about the Akunta Mining thing. Let's hear something about it. We have to, investigations have to conclude at a certain point. This, Abu Jinapo said it, and he's still in office. He said it, he was very clear that nobody gave Akunta Mining a mining lease to do what they were doing in the Tano Nimri Forest. And as Erasmus Asaridonko again, once again, he went to do a documentary. He has a video footage. He gave us some, he's turned in some or turned over some to the CID. So this thing is taking too long, too long. We need to bring some of these cases to court. We have to prosecute because that's accountability. Let's let the court decide. At least we've seen the distraction and there were no permits. Once there were no permits and the distraction and the mining took place, let the court decide. Let the courts decide. We can't keep pushing this in slow, pussyfooting. Because when we do that, that's impunity. That's impunity. Then we create a situation in which Ghanaians will believe. There's always been that suspicion that justice is for the strong. Yes. Once again, I want to quote from Socrates, the book written.
From Plato to Socrates.
Everything. Because when you go and read Socrates, the Republic, laws, and all the other things, you see that it's as if, society doesn't change much. Yeah, 360 BC. These books were written. Justice is the thing is that justice is for the strong. So because it's Chairman Woon to me, investigations can go on, never concluding. Mr. Kansa, you know what? I just remember this song. Ambuli. I don't sing well, but let me just try. I'll say, as a chin, as I say, Yinara, watch your letter when you that. You see, very slow, very slow. Yes. Morning, evening, one letter. What but letter when you that? One letter, they go type, tired. Like the way they explain, tired. Please, listen, this is serious. It's serious. You've seen the distraction. You've seen how citizens are suffering. You've seen the babies that are malformed. Yeah, you see the recent documentary was done showing that the impact of mining on the river bodies.
In some parts of the Ashanti region.
Yeah, the fish we are consuming is polluted, cyanide, all those things. Babies are born with deformities. Some parts of the bodies are not formed. Others have extra legs and limbs and all that. So this is a case that we should rush to court quickly. Then people, confidence will be reposed in the system. But when we do this kukwasa thing, slow, it's as if we are pushing for some events to come and overtake it. No, It's not going to happen. Some events will not overtake this Akunta Mining thing. Okay. And the AG's opinion, this very bad opinion, should not overtake the Akunta Mining thing.
Okay, thank you. Come to Professor Jampo. I'll give you the last word on this matter because the AG is asking questions of you, the NDC. Professor Jampo, the AG is observed that with the exception of the statement of Seth Mante and some statements of account from NIB, that's the National Investigation Bureau, which provides some relevant information in respect of allegations against Seth Mante, John Oforiatta, and Eko Wusi. None of the documents presented by Professor Boating provided any relevant information in support of the allegations contained in his report.
Well, that is a very disrespectful partisan legal advice that shields those expected to be culpable in an attempt to protect the current government. That is a very disrespectful partisan legal advice that, in my view, shield those expected to be culpable in an attempt to protect the image of the regime. And I ask myself, what impunity? Respectfully, is Godfrey Dame blind? Can't he see Galamsey going on? Is he saying everything in Frimpong Boateng's report is concocted and that no one is culpable? I think one of the factors working against the future electoral fortunes of this particular MPP government is the penchant for its appointees to insinuate that Ghanaians, we are all dumps, we are all fools, and that we cannot read in between the lines. One of the variables working against the future electoral fortunes of this particular regime is that its appointees have the penchant for insinuating that we are all dumps and foolish. We cannot read in between the lines. And so, even when we see something as white, they want to tell us that it is black and we must accept what they are telling us. We are not fools. We know what is going on. We know, we can see. Look at these videos. And regardless, in spite of all these things, we are being told. I mean, tell me, between Frimpong Boateng and Godfrey Dame, who should I believe? Frimpong Boateng and Godfrey Dame. If you put the two side by side, who should we believe? Who should Ghanaians believe?
Who will you believe?
Please, don't ask this. The answer is obvious.
It's obvious.
Please, the answer is obvious. So don't ask who will I be. Between the two, Frimpong Boateng and Godfrey Dame. Please, dear Godfrey Dame, we are not fools. You are a young man like myself. You have been given that important position of trust as Attorney General of the land. The good people of Ghana expect you to discharge your duty with a sense of patriotism. We must not always seek to protect the interest, no, partisan interest. Tomorrow, your party will not be in office.
It's not partisan, personal.
Well, personal interest, that's what you want to say. Well, tomorrow, your party will not be in office. And take note of this, that people are dying. People are having liver diseases. People are having their kidneys failing. It may not happen to you today because you may have the resources to be able to fly yourself abroad. But whilst you are gone, don't forget that your nephews and nieces would also be suffering. It's important that we have a certain sense of patriotism in the discharge of our duties. Galamsey is a very serious phenomenon that is leaving dangerous ecological footprints on our environment, and it's affecting all of us. If we want to fight it, we must not begin to be doing some of these things. When a comprehensive report has been given to you and you want to sound as if it is rubbish and that everything in it makes no sense, and so nobody is culpable, everything. And I'm saying again, Ghanaians, between Frimpong Boateng and the partisanly appointed Godfrey Dame, who can we believe? I believe in Frimpong Boateng and whatever he's saying more. He's a human being. He may have his own faults and here and there, but it does not make sense to me for anybody, for any attorney general who has been offered a partisan appointment to come and tell me that everything in the report is absolute nonsense and must be so thrown away. It doesn't make sense. It means you are insulting our intelligence. But please, you cannot insult anybody's intelligence. Some of us, we also live in Ghana. It's not all of us who are partisan bootlickers and who will swallow hook, line, and sinker the bogus rubbish that sometimes you guys throw to us. We will subject some of the things to strict proof and scrutiny and let you know that not all of us are fools. It is impossible for anybody to tell us that everything Frimpong Boateng said is rubbish. It must be thrown away. Anybody who does that clearly does not have the will to help or to contribute his quota in the fight against Galamsey. And I heard him say that he's done better in the fight against Galamsey than everybody. And I said, I mean, it is not a math talk. It's not talking. It's about doing things that
the
can
legal
be
regime has been strengthened.
Palpably, no. But what I'm saying is that we should see it palpably. The people themselves, we should be able to bear testimony of what has been done. It's not about you blowing your own horn. Please, we don't like these practices and the kinds of things going on, particularly by young appointees who have been given the privilege to serve. If you're a young appointee and you receive the honor and privilege to serve, you must serve such that tomorrow your activities will not shut the door to future young or youthful appointment. What he's doing clearly shows that if you don't take care, tomorrow a regime comes and say, well, we appointed a young man there, and the kinds of things that he did shows that young people are oftentimes, in their quest to be youthful,
so
to demonstrate youthful exuberance. I mean, they will do some of these things in a manner that embarrasses all of us. It is a monumental embarrassment for any attorney general to insinuate or to sound that the composite report given to them by Frimpong Boateng contains all rubbish, and that must be garbaged or must be thrown into the bin. Okay. It is something that we must not, accept as a people. It's something that we must show. We must openly express our disappointment and dissatisfaction about the way and manner a legal opinion has been proffered by no mean a person, an attorney general, on that particular report. And I repeat that between the attorney general and Professor Frimpong Boateng, I have the penchant, or I would choose to believe in what Frimpong Boateng say more than what the partisan appointee, the person of the attorney general, will tell us.
I would take some limited reactions from you, because I want us to go. No, don't worry. There's a reason why. Don't worry. We'll go to the next issue, because I want to make enough time for you to make the appeal before we end. Okay. Which is also equally important. Okay. But let's also indicate, that there's some exception in the AG's advice. That at least some 3 persons said are still going to be investigated based on Professor Frimpong Boateng's report. The journalist Seth Mante, who this week also has stated that he is not guilty of what is being accused of, John Oforiatta and Eko Ewusi. John Oforiatta was at the time the Central Regional Security Coordinator. That's what is described in the report, this Professor Frimpong Boateng report. The AG says, with the exception of these 3 people, none of the documents presented by Professor Frimpong Boateng provided any relevant evidence in support. He is asking you a question that you failed to provide a single evidence as proof of your allegations against him.
Okay, let me address this matter legally.
Yes.
Because it's the epitome of legal issues pursuant to Article 88 of the Constitution in terms of prosecution. And the Attorney General says the NDC used a fraudulent means to interpret some report and communicate its views on the report. Mm-hmm. I think the person perpetrating fraud on us is the Attorney General.
Why?
And I'll demonstrate that. So I'll take it from where Prof left off. Look, if you go to our Evidence Act, Act 323, 1975, NRCD 323, Section 8 gives the power for the court to exclude evidence that is objected to by a party, or upon objection and is upheld, the court can suo motu exclude it. Now, under Section 9 of the law, the court can take judicial notice of evidence. So the question is, what is evidence? When you go to the interpretation section of Act 323, NRCD 323, the legislature or the lawmakers, the framers of the law, interpreted what we mean by evidence. Mm-hmm. So when the Attorney General says there's no evidence, people should listen to what in law constitutes evidence. Section 179 says that evidence means a testimony. Listen, a testimony, writings, material objects, or other things presented to the senses that are offered to prove the existence or non-existence of a fact. This is how law defines what constitutes evidence. Is the Attorney General saying that the writings by Professor Frimpong Boateng to his office by way of complaint, the videos, the pictures presented to the senses to prove that Galamsey was happening or was happening in many areas, is not evidence in terms of NRCD 323/1975? Is that what the occupant of the present office of the Attorney General is telling us? Then I'm afraid that he's been hyped. Then my senior in the law has been hyped. If he can write by way of advice and say that there's no evidence.
Based on the definition of what an evidence is.
That is how evidence is defined.
Read that again.
Evidence means testimonies, writings, material objects, or other things presented to the senses that are offered to prove the existence or the non-existence of a fact. Every serious student, in a professional law student in the evidence class, if you can't master this, then you can't pass Opoku Agyemang's paper.
The law on
Master Opoku Agyemang or Jegede, the great Jegede, Jegede Aku's paper. What? The Attorney General will write and say that there is no evidence. He's not even using an adjectival phrase. Maybe relevant evidence
or enough
or material evidence. He says there's no evidence. I am sad as a lawyer and as his junior at the bar. But let's deal with this matter, because you see, he's playing politics. He's playing politics with this. He's not acting as a lawyer.
Why?
He's acting. That is why Professor Jampo says he's acting as a political appointee, and that is why it is disgraceful and shameful for him to do, and disrespectful for him to do what he's done. That there's no evidence when the law clearly says that the materials that have come to you constitutes evidence. In any case, why do we have investigations? Because one of the sources where you can trigger criminal prosecution is through a complaint.
Evidence by is when you provide it under crosses.
Yes, that is testimonies. In fact, that is the first instance that the law gives, that testimonies, but it is examined. So when you testify, it can be recanted through cross-examination, and that's a piece of evidence. So it is up to the court to place a probative value on the evidence offered. That is why under section 51 and 52 of the Evidence Act, relevant evidence is only what the court will admit. But under 52, the evidence may be relevant, but it can be declared inadmissible because it is of a certain prejudicial manner or way to the case of the other party. So for the Attorney General to simply say that I cannot go to court, and in any case going to court, you only need to make a prima facie determination. So making a prima facie determination by the Attorney General, he says that from the writings, the objects, the testimonies, the videos that are presented to the senses to establish the existence of a Galamsey or its non-existence is not sufficient for him to make a prima facie determination. And then he said the NDC. No, that is why my National Communication Officer, Sami Jemfi, have put in an RTR request.
Yes.
Pursuant to Article 21(1)(f)
so there's an
of the
RTR
Constitution.
request.
He is asking for some specific letter dated 9th May 2019 that he himself wrote to Professor Frimpong Boateng and attached to it a court summons. Court summons number with suit number. Let me fish you out. Where are you? With suit number.
I think I have a notice of that.
Yes, that's CMRPC/0385/2019. This was the rate when it was filed. When it was filed, the register of the court. This was the suit number that the court gave, the registrar assigned to this suit, he said he himself forwarded it to Professor Frimpong Boateng. So Sammy Gyamfi is asking for that. And the Attorney General should stop being overly political. We all appreciate the fact that you are political appointee, but it is only the office of the Attorney General that the Constitution requires a professional to occupy.
Yes, that is
it's
true.
only.
Yes.
So he must be a professional for once. A lawyer can, and we've seen lawyers becoming finance ministers. Kwesi Boateng became a finance minister. He was a lawyer and an investment banker, an economist. He became a finance minister. We saw an engineer become a finance minister in this country. So it is only the office of the Attorney General that we lawyers, the only lawyers we are so protected that it's only lawyers that can occupy. So when you have the privilege to serve in the office of the Attorney General, which every lawyer at the bar aspires to. Indeed, when I was much younger at the bar, when the Attorney General walks in, whatever you are doing, you leave it and listen to him.
Okay.
And that is why when Attorney General walks to any court, he's giving everything ceases and the Attorney General must be attended to. It is not for nothing that you are given these privileges in the law. And before and at the bar and before the court, it is because you must do your duty as professionally as you can. The politics by dummy as an AG is too much.
Now, Roxanne Dafia Mepo is Member of Parliament for the South Dike constituency. He's a private legal practitioner in good standing as well. We've just received a video from the Amancia West area. Let me just put on record that the Amancia West, Amancia Central, Amancia South, Adanse North, Obuasi, all these areas in the Ashanti region, Galamsey is recorded to be going on, and issues have been raised as to what is being done to address this. This is the Amancia West. What's happening? This video was taken this week from, in fact, one of our viewers in a very, very prominent position. We cannot put it out, but he is neck deep in the area. So take a look at this.
Pacho, amanse nyina ti muhwe kokofu di omayeno. They say omatu nyina yemfu ni nyina koka kire nya kwan kura nkwafu. Nya kwan ekura ni yakoyafu makwati koku. Machine say sha 1 2 3 machine ba ku num. So bi atiemi a atwoma mpono a enyinamso number 1 ne number 2 asem na mikan obi atiemi a atwoma mpono a enyinamso number 1 ne number 2 se die ekoso okrom ha no wono mo kwaka pe yase akohu mpanifo wono mo kwaka pe yase akohu mpanifo Sese nkwala e wo potem a akwala bie no watimi ko school akwala bie o ma sey kwan nyina kwan na nke de be ko nkwara na be fa so aba school no o ma sey ni nyina obi ya le kura yentimi mfa no entwa ye de na ayayi ye o ma ye na ha before obi ya le na fresh ye me fa na obi aso o ma kwan nye no fa hin no aba o fahin enu aba kwan ni ho o ko fahin fa enu aba be di dwuma no enti esre amansa nyina ba bia me di ayi no betu bia madama enani kina ya munkwaye moa anyinam so number 2 ni number 1 number 2 se galamse fu aba gupom ha ese yensa se ye koko no o mu se yensa se ni ye koko ni nyina yes remampeni omremu bi na dama Frimpong Boateng ofra atwuma ne fisha ye o say kontompo se gani machines na egu say ensase nyagro ene okuyo busumi de toso dunwotwe ene busumi de toso dunwotwe na me ye video asanyama mansa nyina obi amfa nani emehwe bi nani pinchim emehwe bi nyagro Oh, Makuni. Hwɛ deɛ ɔma yɛ nsase no. Koko, amanfoɔ koko. Hwɛ koko fo bi na da akyire no. Sɛ wontimi ntwam ɛnkwatiw koko no.
So this video was taken on the 18th of October. You heard the voice there indicating the date. This is a farmer. What you saw there is a cocoa farm that has been destroyed by illegal miners. And so when you approach them, they'll tell you they have documentation to do what they are doing. And this is not in secret, it's in the open. That if Operation Halt 2 is to be going round, this they would not miss. You will see similar situation in the Etiwa forest as well. We're working on something that in the coming days you would see. Stay with us. We'll be back shortly after this quick break. We'll take concluding comments on the last and final issue, and then we will call it a day. But we'll be back shortly. Something very important coming up right after this quick break. Stay with us.
Are you ready? The biggest bonus ever! Promotion with cool prizes and many other bonus offers. Support 24/7. 1xBet gives you more. Use promo code to get your biggest bonus.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Bet responsibly, not for persons below 18 years. Gambling can be addictive.
Feel adrift as you transition into a new stage of your life. The future seems like a blank space until you discover the passion within. The canvas of the future is yours to paint. Welcome to a world of opportunities. Heritage Christian College, offering world-class university education, training compassionate entrepreneurial leaders.
Now, for the most part, many people, even at the age of 30, are not quite sure what they want to do with their lives. But this guest of ours on Today's Woman this week was blessed at the age of 3 to know exactly what she wanted to be.
From when I was 3, as far as I can remember, it's 3 years old, I said I want to be a hairdresser.
And then that was it.
Yes. Yeah, I never changed my mind. Excellence. Like, I never once said, I want to go into
doctor. Yeah. No wonder she's been able to achieve so much with the Red Ginger label right here in Ghana.
Any hair texture, if you don't put too much oily product on, it will dry within 15 minutes.
This Saturday at 3 p.m. right here on TV3, Christine Tete is our guest. Make sure you don't miss any bit of Today's Woman. My name is Cookie. See you on Saturday at 3 p.m.
Today's Woman with Cookie T shows Saturdays at 3 p.m. on TV3. Brought to you by...
Welcome back to Key Point. Now, this week, 2 other prominent and eminent men of God serving on the Board of Trustees of the National Cathedral tendered in their resignation. The Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams and Reverend Eastwood Anaba. The people who are close to the action say they are not really surprised because they've been sounding this caution right from the beginning of the year. So despite our prayers, best hopes and wishes, unfortunately, a needed audit to help restore public confidence and trust. That was their concern. Restoration of public confidence and trust in this consequential project has not been enacted to the best of our knowledge. Since January 2023, we awaited news to no avail regarding the finding of the audit. Well, the Secretariat also responded that the audit is being done. And so what the people, the two very eminent men of God are saying, it's not true. This is the Secretariat's response, that the board was constantly updated on the process through the chairman and the steering committee, as well as the executive director's reports. At the heart of all of this back and forth is the question of accountability. Has it been answered? And I'll start off with you. Honorable Apiakubi.
Yes.
Yes, please.
Oh, thank you very
one
much.
On this. Quick one.
For me, there's no need for this conflict of opinions. If the members of the board were demanding an audited report, and the office is saying that it is ready, just publish it.
Publish it.
It is public information.
Okay.
And once it is published, it retires the confusion.
Indeed.
So as far as I'm concerned, if somebody calls for something that you have no business hiding it. If you think that this is in the public domain and or should be in the public domain,
thank you,
either by operation or by law. So let them publish it, and then this will go.
Yes, the same thing. Like I go back to Jedibule Ambule. Obo letter we read that one audit today, tomorrow, today. No, where? Now they said there are delays. You see, when you read them, it said there's been some delays due to some things, and that's what Ambule means by one letter. They go type. So Charlie, it's good. The good men of God have left. It's good. It's an indictment on the project, and they will never recover from it.
Professor Jampo.
Well, I am worried. Will the government be able? You remember way back in 2008, I was in the University of Bristol. I visited some friends. We saw some dams, and I made a video that whilst people are investing monies in doing some of these things, we want to invest money in constructing National Cathedral. Since then, you have very eminent men of God. Once a while, they'll draw attention and said, "Oh, don't do that." Don't. Well, we've not kept quiet, but the things that are now unfolding. I think those who are calling on some of us to be quiet about it, I'm sure they are seeing. Now, these men of God, they are having even some people questioning their integrity because they were out there preaching all in support for it, and then today they said they are resigning from the board. And the other question that is important is that will the government be able to find the resources to complete this National Cathedral? If they are not able to do it, clearly we know that the next government would not continue. Would somebody not be charged for having caused financial loss to the state after digging that huge hole there?
Thank you. I want you respectfully to use the few seconds left to make that appeal, because
few seconds.
We are
let me appeal to the entire nation as well as the world to come to our aid, especially in the Volta region and in other parts of the country. In the Volta region, we have Ketu South, Keta, Anglon affected. We have South Town, Central Town, North Town heavily affected. We have South Dine, North Dine, Mandu and Afajato heavily affected. Sujamai and then Adan East and West heavily affected. The other constituencies and districts that I may, for want of time, may not be able to. So the magnitude of the problem caused by the flooding upstream and downstream is sad that our people, thousands of people, are rendered homeless. Thousands of residential homes have been and facilities have been brought under the deluge. Farmlands have been swallowed up. Businesses have been submerged. District. But I congratulate to the bar yesterday. I think 1,042.
Yes.
And let me say that 2 years ago when we waged the war, that some 499 they admitted to the law school because for some strange reasons they wanted to exclude them. As many as 350 were called to the bar yesterday. And these are people who go into self-employment straight away.
Congratulations.
I congratulate them.
Thank you.
And this vindicated our position at the time. And finally,
thank you.
yeah, they will be good. And finally, Our condolences to the family of Senior Akoto Ampao. We had our differences, but
indeed, the late Akoto Ampao. Thank you so much. And that's Nelson Roxton Dafia Mekpo is Member of Parliament for the South Dyke constituency. And the Honorable Andy Apia Kubi is a Member of Parliament for Asante Achim North constituency. Lawyer Martin Pebo, thank you so much. And Professor Ransford Jampo is a Professor of Political Science, University of Ghana. And then also our condolences to Professor Enoch Entry, who is burying his father today, the late Entry Kwabena Asamoah, in the Eastern Region, Koforidua. We will all be there. Professor Enoch Entry, thank you for all the support. On behalf of the rest of the team, we thank you so much for always watching us. I am Alfred Okanse. Have a great weekend.